This has been one hell of an experience. Have a look at that. Changing again. Into the little bush. So you can see inside. See the pond. Yeah, guys, that's first visit. We're just picking up a sticky. I think random dude just come up. Random dude. Yeah, we're getting a ticket to go back to Tokyo for the night in the hotel, and then we'll be editing all this together up, but to get out for as soon as possible. So have a lovely trip. Sorry, we're doing that. One.
But then, do you not get? If you get a slope, do you not? Does it not start to build up down?
Sorry, I had to do it. Sorry.
To be fair, everything I've ever built's on a slope, mate.
We were late, Matt.
Who was?
We was gas bagging, having a bit of a chat. And Seskin done a usual there, look, that 7:31 p.m. late again, guys. Sorry, all. We was, well, yeah, Matt was sending me pictures of his 4x4 with a massive great big koi ball on top of it.
Somebody said it looked like a big blue light on the top of it.
Yeah, that was one big blue light, that mate. In fact, I'll see if I can bring it up and share it with you because it was it looked quite good. How you doing, bud? You well?
Yeah, busy,
Good man.
which is
Busy.
yeah, which is good. But yeah,
That's good, mate. That's what we want. That's what you want, innit? You want to be busy. Season is well upon us, isn't it? Now we're off. Still dropping a bit cold though on the night. Still getting a few colder. That's a new word. Cooler nights. And yeah, look at this. Oh, come on. Why is it with freaking thing, man? There we go. We get the picture of Matt. This is how Matt's been traveling back home with his big blue light in it all the way home to make sure he got back in time.
I was trying to do the customer a favour because that had to come out on a pallet, and the pallet's like 45 quid, 50 quid. but I had a delivery going out to a customer, and I thought, right, it can go on that one because it was all carriage paid. But then got there and shit, that ain't going to go in my back door. But luckily, living out in the countryside, you don't see many coppers around here. But the black tape,
strapped it down.
As soon as you came over 30 mile an hour, the black wrapping on it was just going.
Well, hopefully as well, ladies and gents, this evening we should be getting a bit of an update from our Rick as well. By which I'm meaning, he said he were going to be coming on, fingers crossed if all went well with the spawning, and from his 15 females, I think he'd got 12 that had actually spawned when I spoke with him earlier today, and he were hoping that he'll get on, but obviously he could be absolutely worn out from an early start. I think Vince was still at like 2 o'clock or something. He said on his video that he did live this morning at 3 o'clock, set off at about 2 o'clock to get over there to get some footage of it all and what have you. But he's done the right thing, Matt. He's spawned the Yamabukis. So if all else fails, there'll be some decent fish come out of this year's spawn. If nothing else, my favourites.
They were nice. Was that the genuine Yamabuki you done?
I think he said in total he'd got 4 females, 3 males, something like that. And he stripped 1 female in the little bit of a short live that Vince did this morning, and stripped 1 male. And I don't know if he's done any more later on Fluke Day, but he's definitely done 1, which he said he'd got way more eggs than what he needed from like. So hopefully, fingers crossed, all should be well. Let's just touch and make sure I did catch a few people that came in. Peter Dewfall says there, evening everyone, and we've got There's Something Coy About Me, who says good evening all. Evening from Pool Ponds UK, and evening from Andrew. We just missed that in there. From Ian, and Farmer O'Coy says hi, Gaz and Matt. Hopefully Rick will be joining us as well later on. Looks like a top hat, apparently. Paul W says, hi, Gaz and Matt. Hope you're both well. I'm very well. Thank you very much, mate. Hope you are yourself. Steelman David says, good evening, all. Oh, we got straight in with a question. Question, Matt. Has Sean and Ollie managed to get VATs for the National? Yeah. I really would like to see their koi there. They got some super koi. Did they get one? They're both in on it all.
Yeah, Sean's got his VAT. He got one of the big ones. He was literally took the day off work, and then I said to him, "How good are you with your IT skills?" And he was like, "Not very good." I said, "Do you want to come over here then, and you can use my computer?" So he come over. He got his VAT, and I'm praying that Ollie's going to get a VAT as well. He's still got time. There's still some space.
Has he got his new fish ready? From what he picked up and from Japan, he could have and taking those.
Yeah, there. Yeah, so snow saggies there, his glomus there, and obviously he's got the other fish as well. Yeah,
very nice.
I get it. It's a big commitment to take your fish to the show. You know, there's a lot of risk.
Yeah, I can understand it, mate. I mean, to be fair, it'd be one thing that would probably. I mean, my fish aren't even all that brilliant, but it would still be one thing that I would be concerned or worried about. It would be one issue, but if done right and carefully and planned right with oxygen, good sturdy boxes or packing crates, whatever you want to use, there shouldn't be any real risk. The biggest risk, I would say, would be the stress on the journey there and back. Other than that, the rest of the time while they're in there, it'd be no different to them really being in your pond other than a fresh supply of water, which is maintained and well looked after by all the teams when they're down there. So, yeah, that side, I wouldn't be all that worried.
Well, Sean owns a carpentry company, so he's going to make some proper wooden crates with polystyrene inside to obviously protect them.
Yeah.
And he's already come over and picked up the bags, so he can make the boxes exactly right. So the fish are going to be almost held up, so you don't get the bags sagging.
sagging and a bit of a. That's the only thing in it. I mean, you've got to be careful not to be packing them in that direction and packing them, front to back like that direction along cross. So when you break, the fish are just moving in that motion as opposed to head on into something which it can break tails and bruise the noses and what have you. And occasionally, when I have seen once or twice when we've been there, there's been like single colours are always worse for bruising hot noses. But I have seen it. It does go, but it can take a fair few months to get rid of marks. When I first purchased my chag that I've got in pond, I never even give it a thought. I just stuck it in boot, just stuck it in with room and, where it'd situ, where it would go in alongside pram. So it was a case, stick it in and get it in there. And when I got back home, fish were thrashing about a fair bit on motorway. I could hear it rattling around it box a bit. When I got back home, it got a right bruise up front of its nose. Wow. Took about 3-4 months for that to go, but eventually it just faded away. It didn't any lasting damage, but just looked a bit of a black pigmentation came up in nose. So, yeah.
It is amazing how much they jump around in these boxes, though, even in total darkness. When you drive back from Heathrow and you can hear them just...
You can hear them all thrashing around, yeah. And I suppose, is that, especially even when you've got like boxes full of perhaps maybe, 60, 70, 80 pieces, it only takes one fish to get startled and they all react to each other, don't they? So you can hear the whole lot going. It's not just, they react to each other's reactions, don't they? So it's not just a case of one fish in a box. If you're packing them singular, then it obviously won't be an issue. But yeah.
I know I think it was, and this year we had the big old girls coming back and they were like 2 of them in a box. And it was like, imagine what damage they could do to each other if one of them just freaked out.
Well, that's what one years gone by when it shows. There was one of my favourites. So I always used to enjoy looking at it and seeing it when it was there and seeing how it progressed over a couple of years. I was going down and watching them and having a look at the actual shows. There was a really stunning Deutsche Achiever, and it was beautiful. And one of the last shows that it went to, it snapped his tail, and it lost a good section at top part and lead ray. And obviously, fish were never the same again. But I mean, it did show it again the following season with the broken tail. But I don't know. I don't think I've seen it again since. But there's risks in everything and anything you do, isn't there? You can't wrap them in cotton wool. You can leave them in the pond and something will go wrong. It's one of them things, isn't it? If it's going to go wrong, it usually does. But if you're careful and you do everything that you need to do your well packing, oxygenated, and all that kind of stuff, you shouldn't really have. Most of us don't worry about it when we're getting a fish being shipped out to us, do we? You know what I mean? Yeah. You don't give it a bit of a, that fish is going to be all right. You might be a bit concerned, and your first thing you do is opening your box and checking it over, but you don't really think about it in between panicking and worrying, and much more like, don't mean this in a bad way, but those people that are delivering them don't care for them like the person that would be showing them in that sense. So you'd be careful lifting them in, careful lifting them out. They might get a little bit more rougher treatment throughout the shipping side of things under normal circumstances.
But it was like last year when we went up to National, one of the local guys here, he took his fish out, and when he got up there, I don't know whether it was I think it was as he arrived, the engine blew on his car, and he'd gone to the AA, obviously because that's who he had, and the AA wouldn't actually pick him up or pick his vehicle up and transport it because he had live animals on board.
Yeah, I suppose that's. Do they have to take out extra liability for that kind of thing? Got it on.
In his case, then he had to go and privately hire a company to tow him home.
Wow.
Yeah, you imagine it though. Even so, he flew and we went up and picked the fish up on the last slot. We started to come back and one of the cars flashed us, and he said something. You could see what he was doing. Wheel back and all the rest of it, and basically our rear tyre had actually gone out of shape. Luckily we had a spare on, luckily we had the jack and all the rest of it, but it just makes you wonder how easy it would be to have a complete and utter balls up. You imagine being on the motorway and
Yeah. So, stuff can go wrong, can't it, Matt? I mean, you say that kind of thing, but fish are just fish, aren't they? You know, same kind of thing that happened with racing horses, or whatever, show horses or whatever anybody might be doing, or all like that. I suppose you never really think about that kind of thing, do you? Well,
one of my mates is transporting of live animals by plane, and that's normally horses or thoroughbred cattle, real top much money. And he said it's horrendous. You've got them in there, and you imagine what it's like when you're at so many thousand feet and you've got a horse up there that's kicking off. It's not going to be good.
I've seen it years gone by when I used to be in fire service, and I were retained, guys, which I don't know if everybody will know, but the vast majority of people probably will do. So I used to work as a maintenance joiner from 8 till 4:30, and then when I got home, I'd be on call as a fire officer. And I'd just come home and just finished the shift and just done my day's work. I got called out in the evening, and then after that, I'd set off to go to work in the morning. I bring my van travelling down M62, and a horse box in front of me. When you see him and a trailer starts doing that little bit of a dancing on wheels, and you can see him doing a bit of a wiggling, doing a bit of, well, then wheels started to bounce, and next thing you know, this horse box flipped over, and Land Rover that were pulling it flipped over, and it's just spun down motorway with horse's legs sticking out the side of it, man. There were 2 horses in it, man. That were a right mess. There was carnage everywhere. But
That's not nice, is it?
It happens, doesn't it? You can't plan for every event out there, but I mean, as long as you're careful and you do everything you need to do, I can't really see. I think it's probably few and far between in it where there's ever anything that happens when you're taking your fish showing. So, not trying to put anybody off. That's what I'm trying to get at. Right, just touch base with Vince there. Yes, did the Ginrin Yame? Yeah, so you well confused me then. The Ginrin Yamabuki times 2. Nice.
Was that the Satsumi Vince we got last year?
Yes, those ones that you purchased while you were over there, I believe. The ones that Rick said, I selected the best of. That's what he said in video. That's not me, that's him. He said it.
He was cussing because when we sorted them all out, I can't remember how many it was. I think we bought 60 between us, and he had to bring the 30 over to me after he'd done the QT for me. And of course, the only way that you could do it in a dirty green pond was chuck in some food, go like that with a net, and the first 30 that came out all came over to me, and he was like, I swear they're all freaking bigger than mine, because of course the bigger and stronger ones are always going to show up first. But they were. Some of those fish were stunning.
There was I'm just reading through comments there. Vince did say yes, he has. So yeah, I should have said yes to your answer there with that question that you just asked him. That's what confused me though. You excited about being a granddad, Joe? I'm going to say, chuffing hell, man. Ben's it's only a toddler. She's only the god. And then the penny dropped. Arago Kikoi. I get where you're coming from. Now then, Joe, and we'll touch base there with an evening from Alan, and we've got an evening from Ali Koi. Evening all. And Gaz, nice to see you working on your pond this week, and others working on theirs. Yeah, appreciate it, mate. Thank you very much. It's been a good while since my pond has had any not so much attention. It's had the normal general filter cleans, but it's been minimalist. Everything's been doing what needed to just keep them looked after in a sense of. But yeah, it was nice spending a bit of time getting a chill out at weekend and having a look around garden and keeping a bit of an eye on them and watching them and thinking, God damn, yeah, there's problems. But getting all the jet washing done to tidy up the garden and have it looking half decent, but it was doing the fence, man. When you start jet washing, man, and you think things don't look all that bad, and then you hit it with a jet wash and you think, shit, man, that's not clean. And then that leads to another area. Before you know it, you're absolutely piss wet through when you've been doing it for 6.5 hours. But that's where we were up to. But it's something that needed doing, because this year I want to get the garden fence painted with a stained stroke colour, but changing it from that natural look and giving it a bit of a coat, because it's been up a good 10 years plus now. And I know it's guaranteed tannalise and tannel timber for like 15 to 20 years, they reckon. But I reckon it's due time. But I don't want something dark. I don't want it looking crap and dingy. I want to give the shed a bit of a coat up and a redo, and then get all fence all painted up and have it brightened up a little bit.
Did you find it therapeutic, Gaz?
Jet washing.
Yeah.
After 12 months, mate. After 12 months of it, no, fucking no. No, not at all.
I normally go around writing all different words in my patios. And
yeah, but I've done that before, Matt. I've done that, wrote stupid stuff on floor, and then as you go to try jet wash it over, because it's all wet, it looks like it's. But then when it dries off, you can still blatantly see where you wrote the word. So you've got to be careful what you write, just in case. But I mean, yeah. To be fair, mate, there's a sense of satisfaction with it in there, because you make something that looks untidy and a little bit dirty look fresh, clean, and bright again. But yeah, there is an element of a little bit. Depends how much you do, doesn't it?
There isn't that many jobs you can stand and do for 6 hours and not be bored of it. But jet washing, the time seems to fly away.
It certainly does. Right, we got here. I thought you had double hard koi up there, Gaz. I do. We have. They just needed a bit of TLC. They needed a little bit of Fluke treatment for a start, Seska, because you're right. I have been having a little bit of struggle and a little bit of an issue trying to get rid of them. But we've definitely knocked them back, and I need to check them again this weekend and then see how things are. And if we're good.
What did you do then, Gaz?
What did I do? What did I do? What did I do? What do you mean? Yeah. Treatment-wise,
yeah.
Fluke, yes. And the reason why is I went in first with the PP, and then did a good filter clean and a water change, because I knew I would. I thought if I go in, strip them back, and on the Fluke packaging, it says that you should do day one with a chloramine tea treatment, which is to cut back the slime coat. And then once you've done the chloramine tea treatment, you're going with day 2, and day 2 is 4 grams per 1,000 litres, I think. And then on day 3, you go in with 2 grams per 1,000 litres, and then day 4, you go in again with 2 grams per 1,000 litres, something like that. Without reading it off a packet exact. Don't take that as gospel, because I think that's right. But I did instead of doing chloramine tea, because I didn't have none, I had PP. And I thought, well, we'll PP first. That will cut some of them back, kill some of the parasites. Not all, as I'm not saying it will, but depending on how strong a dose you do, depends on whether or not you'll get through them, all that kind of thing. So I thought, well, we'll give them a hit with that. Didn't neutralise it, left it through. Following day, then give a good filter clean, top pond back up, and then hit them with the day 1, then day 2, and then day 2, day 3, then day 4. But I'm leaving them now, and I want to check them again at weekend, just to see if there's any signs of anything else. Because there is still the odd one that's doing the odd little flick now and then. But nowhere near like what there was when I PP'd, mate. I thought, shit. That you could tell as soon as the PP had been in like 10, 15, 20 minutes, they did the usual thing, avoid the PP and moved at far end of pond. And then when it got there, within about 3.5 hours, it started to turn brown. And I thought, well, there you go. That's filters need a bit more of a clean. So that's a good indication that there's a bit of grime and shit in there. We'll give them a good clean out. Once we've got all them cleaned out, we'll then hit them with Fluke treatment and gone in with them. Did it, got them all done. No casualties, no problems, no issues. Everybody looks happy. And there is the odd flash but it's the only time I've seen them flashing now is after they've fed. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that's just trying to clear gills out type of thing because they've been eating, and there's not too much of an issue or anything untoward. But the main reason why I did it, Matt, is it's cold and it's been cold, and you can't do no while it is cold. So while it's cold and the temperatures then start to smarten up a little bit, we start getting some rising temperatures, you get a few of those days where you think warmer will again a lot more now. So fish start to become more active, and then all of a sudden you start seeing them flashing, and I thought, you son of a bitch, have we gone into winter with flukes? But I did add 2 fish towards back end of season, and I think therefore came with whatever.
I don't believe you ever have a pond that hasn't got the pace.
Exactly. I don't believe you can either. And I know throughout the winter months, I never saw anything, through the cold winter months. They've literally just seen fish, literally just sat there, square on, all parked up like buses in a row. They ain't bothered. But they're all so close to each other that if one did, they can all jump ship to next. And it made me realise when I've been watching them and gardening and getting everything all trimmed up, tidied up and sorted out for winter period months, everything all just looks cacked, doesn't it, in your garden? So to get it all done and get it all sorted out, just made it our garden a little bit more longer, so it was more noticeable. So while it being more noticeable, I thought we'll do a bit of a scrape. And it was talking with Lee Oliver at the same time. He was like, Gaz, I've got flukes again. What do you reckon? Well, get in there. He said, I'm going to go in with PP and then I'm going to get in with fluke treatment again. And it was that kind of just think, because I was going to put it off. I was going to put it off till week, and then I just thought, if I put it off and it gets warmer and it stays as warm as what it is now, we've hitting 23 degrees in Huddersfield on that particular day. I thought, well, they're just going to start, and then that's going to start that breeding cycle of the parasites, and I could end up where not getting mass explosion of them, but better to be proactive than reactive. So wait and got them done. And I did say in video that I did. It might not be the case that we clear them and get rid of them, but we'll certainly reduce the numbers. And when reducing the numbers, that cuts down the irritation for the fish, and they can concentrate more on, getting their immune system up and feeding and starting the season off having a good bit behind them, as opposed to. So we hit him with that, mate. There's definitely an improvement. I've not seen the ones that was initially flashing that give me a trigger to think there's something going on, reacting. So I'm hoping that the rest of it is literally just the odd one that's been reacting a little bit to feeding. So
just annoys the shit out of me that there was so many different medications, treatments.
Yeah.
And so many don't work. I was talking to Tony and he was doing exactly the same. And it's like, why aren't they going?
I think it's a case of the more that you do, the more that it fails, the more resilient they become to the treatment. But you've got to mix it up and try using something a little bit different, haven't you? You've got to go in with some 23 degrees in Huddersfield. Was it on one of the? It's a one-off. Yeah, it's a shame, mate, that on this particular season and this particular year, that summer was on a Wednesday. That's why I stuck that in, mate, in the old Facebook group. That's how one day someone we've had it's been gone, done. But yeah, that's the only. Somebody sent me a message and said, why haven't you used Fluke X? I mean, yeah, I hadn't used Fluke X because I didn't really like the idea of what were going on when they first brought the product out and they went out and literally some fish or some people were losing fish from it, and then they recalled it all and then it went back and then they brought out the product with changes to it, and whether that changes was a different medication or reduced the amount or whatever it was that was within it, which I don't know, so I don't really want to say one way or other. But I know they recalled it and redid something and made some alterations. But to me, I'm one of those kind of guys that if I hear something bad about something, I don't genuinely want to risk it myself. It's like taking your car to a garage and saying, "Can you give it a service?" And he gives your vehicle a service, but he cracks your head, and then your engine's fucked. You ain't going to go back to the same mechanic and say, "Can you mend my next car?" That when you get one. So I'm one of those people that kind of, perhaps rightly or wrongly, maybe might not be the right way to be, but yeah, once you shit your roll full with me, you're done. So I don't want to risk going down that line. Last year we're doing a lot of treatment, and I think that's what it was, gill damage that I'd done. So.
I think it's with treatments, and I sell lots of different ones because, like what you just said, Dan, you have your preference to what you want to use. and I've done obviously supplying probably every single one that's on the market. I guarantee you, every single one of them, I've had the customer come back on. I've done the treatment, and I've still got bloody flukes.
Yeah.
And it's like, Rich is a good one for it, because he would always say years ago, if you had flukes, and I can't remember what it was that they used to put it in there, and that was it. It was gone. You wouldn't see it again.
But that's the thing, though, Matt. If it was still that way, and the products that we were using were still that well, let's face it, that strong enough to eradicate them straight away, one treatment, then flukes won't be an issue, would they? Because before they even got to us as keepers, owners, that have them, hobbyists, they'd be gone in industry beforehand. So, you know what I mean?
You would literally go for your tanks, nuke them all, know that every single one, and every single time when a customer treated his fish, that was it. They were gone, finished.
So,
and the only way they could be introduced would be a duck coming in or something like that. But would there be enough business for any of them if there was a one-shot cure? You wouldn't be going back, would you?
That's the thing, Matt. That's the thing that pisses me off. That's the bit that grinds my gears somewhat. It's not. It's like the same thing, and everybody's probably going to go, "Yeah, but you should change him every 6 months." But should you? Fluke treatments don't work first time every time. Hang about. Good evening. Here he is. You just
Sorry.
Oh, no, mate. Don't be daft. You've been silly o'clock, and you've been out there, and you've been doing. You've even had a fresh trim and all job lot.
Yeah, I fell asleep.
Let's not forget, though, he has been on holiday for a week as well.
Yeah. And that was Benidorm. Was it warm?
Yeah, well, it was hot. Yeah.
Was it really? Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Well, that's what you want, mate. Good do. What were you saying? Just talking about fluke treatments and how I'm a bit cynical, Matt. I kind of think to myself, is it as weak as it is so that they can keep making more and more money out of us to keep going out, having to buy another pack, season year after year after year? Or is it genuinely because, well, somebody's done something, put some in, done what they said, and next thing you know, everything's dead, so they've sued them or screamed out phone at them, and they've had so many complaints about products being too strong and things dying, all that kind of stuff. It's, yeah. I hate to say it, Matt, but somewhere deep down inside me kind of thinks, yeah, bullshit, man. It's just not as strong as it should be and not as strong as it ought to be, and we should be able to just do it once, treat it once, job done. Years gone by, it was. So
yeah, if you think about it, especially like the garden centres, you go in there, you fish it poorly, try this all parasite treatment, and you chuck it in your pond. Yes, it may make the fish temporarily better, but then a month later, you think to yourself, hang on a moment, those fish look exactly the same. What do? You go back in there and buy another bottle and chuck it in your pond.
Yeah, it's not the manufacturers trying to make money. It's their hands tied on what they can use. So praziquantel is probably the best drug they've got, which is a pain to get into the water, which is...
It's a bastard, isn't it, to mix that stuff? Is that the white powdery part that floats within the packet?
Well, the trouble is it doesn't naturally dissolve in water, which is why your different carriers and your different agents... that's an issue. Flubenzol's not particularly effective, so it'll work sometimes if those flukes have never seen it, but they build up resistance to it really quickly. So and the treatments we used to use just aren't legal chemicals anymore,
which is the bastard bit, isn't it? If they were, and that's, I'm guessing. Oh. If they were available, then
it wouldn't even be a talking point, would it? If they're available like they are out in Japan, then it's not a talking point. You treat the fish and you never have a problem with flukes because it's that effective. So all of the like Macedon, Diptrex, those kind of treatments, yeah, one treatment, even at half dose, would just take out every fluke wherever. But yeah, they're not chemicals. Nerve one have neurotoxin agents. They're just proper nasty chemicals.
Yeah, but you can understand it, can't you? You can understand why they're not, but it's still. It seems bad if you have to go through a season as a hobbyist or trade, and you treatment after treatment after treatment after treatment after treatment after treatment, and you're only just knocking them back. You know?
It's not necessarily the cost either, is it? It's turning your UV off, turning your drum on bypass, and living for the next 2-3 weeks with a shitty pond.
And then you've got to get all those parameters back. It's a knock-on effect, isn't it? And especially if you've got a bad outbreak of them. If you've got a bad outbreak of them, that can take up a whole pissing season. And you're just trying to get on top of Fluke to try and get your pond stable. Your Fluke stable, Fluke stable, and that's a whole season gone, done. Mm. And it doesn't necessarily make a difference whether you treat. Well, if it's unheated, it's even more difficult. But if you're heated, then those flukes are easier to treat for. But the numbers produce and breed and explode faster and quicker. So
yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? If your ponds, if you've got a really good setup, generally you have less problems. But yeah, if you've got a filter system that's almost impossible to get treatments through it properly, you get recurring problems. If you don't treat the right dose, you get recurring problems. If you're continually sort of buying fish and moving stock around, you get recurring problems. So yeah, it is a pain. There's no way around it. And I think if you've got one pond to look after, you could take advice and, like I say, PP first, use your fluke treatment, and then what I'd personally do is do a praziquantel based treatment like Fluke X or Fluke P, and then if you still see issues, then go in like a flubentanol treatment.
Oh yeah, would you recommend alternative? Yeah, switching it on its head
in quite quick succession. So you basically you just give them a hit of that, which will kill off 95% of the flukes, and those few that are resistant to that, hopefully you take out.
Slap their ass with something else. Yeah, that makes sense.
How did you get on with the Fluke X switch?
I don't know. Carl's doing it. I don't know the upshot of. I think it works a lot better. I mean, it's one of those. The Learn X Pro the last couple of years has been absolutely flawless for us. The last few years, and suddenly we've had a couple of ponds where, yeah, it's just not totally taking them out, and you just see it coming back. So,
have you seen any weird side effects from you using Learn X?
Not Learn X, no. Not the Fluke X. We've only really used the Fluke X for a few weeks, so and that just seems to do it a lot faster and a lot more boom. But I think the
and cheaper as well, isn't it?
It's cheap. I think the actual amount of quantity is higher as well. You're actually giving them a stronger dose of the active ingredient. So, but the problem is it's a praziquantel based treatment, but it's got other stuff with it, and I think I'm not sure, but I think one of the other treatments with Fluke X is one of the treatments is in Supervam, which is I don't recommend for people to use, but that does kill flukes. Dead. But there is side effects with that. And yeah, that's so one of those, isn't it? I mean, the trouble is if you've got flukes to a point where it's killing your fish and you've got no other option, then speak to someone. I mean, Supervam is a registered sheep dip treatment. It's not licensed for fish because it has effects on certain species of fish. Does
it make your fish grow wool?
No, it does something. It destroys something in the nerves of the fish. The certain fish suffer and basically just fall to pieces.
Shit.
So like I say, it's even years ago. It was something you can use with koi, but if it goes near a goldfish, it just and they're technically the same fish, and you're like, well, that's weird. How could it kill? Yeah, so it's one of those. I don't know. I think every pond's different, and obviously, depending on the types of filtration, it's like anything. If you don't treat with the right amount at the right temperature, you'll have recurring problems. And once you've got recurring problems, that's how this resistance builds up in it. Because you're basically the ones that are stronger to it survive. Their offspring have obviously carry that strength again, and it just becomes resistance in no time.
Then you end up with resilient to treatments and them needing to be tweaked and changed by manufacturers again, and something else been brought out and another alteration. So then you've got, I mean, is there any point in, you've got your Fluke S going in with a Fluke X, and 2 different brands, 2 different companies. But is that Prosi Quattro or whatever it's called again? Or is that Fluke
the most common. So I think Fluke. You'd have to just read the packets. I mean,
I don't.
And the problem is the manufacturers, to prove that, they can have a vat of fish and use flubenzidole and it kills flukes. They can use formalin, and if those flukes have never perhaps seen formalin, it will kill flukes. But in most people's ponds, it doesn't work. So, yeah.
Question from the doctor. Why can't importers and breeders get special licenses from their government and use those chemicals so the customers don't have to fork out more money?
Because the government is the reason. It's being in Europe originally, and the government will stop us using them. Yeah. You can't just tell and say fish farmers can use this nerve agent willy-nilly or whatever. It's a bit of a minefield. That's the trouble, because there's a lot of chemicals that work that aren't licensed for fish. So you've got the different.
Was it because of the EU when we're part of the EU that brought all the new regs in about what we could use chemical wise, or?
I mean, it's this constant thing. I think a part of that part is just obviously there's a chemical. It's like obviously we get to use malachite, but actually that's banned in fish farming for any food fish or whatever. It's a carcinogenic. Shut up.
But it's like even the weed killers, all the weed killers that you can put into the ponds have all been discontinued or banned, and you can't use them. And I bet you any money it will be exactly the same case, is that somebody's opened up one of the lakes, dumped the weed killer down into the mainstream, killed off all the weeds, and the government have gone, right, that's it. Just think about weed killers, Rich. You can't get them.
Yeah, all the good weed killers are banned, and they just it's from our point of view, it just feels like if it works, they ban it. But that's not the reality. The reality is if it works, it's very good, but people misuse it, and that's why they sort of get banned, or there's a dangerous side effect to them. It is. You've got to be careful, haven't you? It's quite easy for once you treat that water to get elsewhere. And obviously, if someone come out and said, "Look, here's this amazing Fluke treatment. I've managed to, legalize Diptrex again," and everyone goes, "Oh, brilliant, yeah!" And then, and your grandkid goes there and snorts a little bit by accident, and he's brain damage. You'd all be going, "Well, hang on, we should have a bit more severe warnings on that." All he did was touch the box, and now he's brain damaged and can't speak. You'd be like, "Whoa, we shouldn't have."
I can understand the reasons behind what they've done. You just got to make sure your grandkids are into sniffing stuff, aren't you?
I know that's the problem. So you can't have. I mean, they'll ban. I mean,
drugs are bad.
They ban everything at the end of the day, wouldn't they? That's the culture we live in. What was available is just slowly becoming. If you can't drink a litre of it without a side effect, then they'll ban it.
Yeah, but Rich, I've seen you drink a litre of it and seen the side effects afterwards.
Hey, I'm old school.
Hardcore. Just topped it back up. Ads are passing me off. Loads of them tonight. Passing you off, are they? Oh, sorry. Pissing. Not passing. I've switched them off just for you. Remind me to put them back on at the end of it, or otherwise I'll sit here and make nothing. I have, let me know. They should be off now, I think.
I don't even know you're controlled at your end. I suppose the money.
Yeah. I imagine. Yeah, I mean, sorry lads, there's no pay this evening. Seska's getting passed off with it, so I have to switch.
Stop it, Gaz. Changing the subject. Did everyone get the show VATs they wanted? Your customers get the VATs? Still VATs available now, aren't there?
Yeah,
Is he still available?
There was VATs last time I looked the other day. When Tony was in the shop, there was still VATs available.
Nice one, Tony. There. Active ingredients in Fluke X is benzol. Yeah, that one.
Not in the Fluke X I used.
Benzazole.
What's that?
Is that flubenzazole?
Flubenzo, yeah, but yeah, the Fluke X I received and used a week ago wasn't. And
Seska thinks nanny state interference. Kids should be able to sniff what they want.
it is that.
It is, isn't it?
I mean,
I think personally, for me, right, this is my opinion on it, right? They should abolish health and safety completely. Health and safety should go out the window. And that way then we'd eradicate fucking stupid. The world's population would fall by half and everything would be back to normal. Just saying. I think that's where we should start off. Abolish.
It's like anything. If you jump off a cliff into some water,
stupid.
Yeah, if you jump off a cliff into the water and find out it's only an inch deep, and people want to blame someone, well, don't jump off a cliff if you don't know.
Yeah, if you don't want to risk breaking your legs, don't do something dodgy, do you? I mean, it's like my wife were going to, and I'm going to do it. I am going to do it, and this is perhaps maybe a statement, but at some point I am going to do it, and I'm going to do it for charity, and I'm going to do it to see if I can raise a little bit more. But listen to this one. Our last we're going to do is a parachute jump for my 50th, but it was fully booked up for the period close to my birthday, and a fortnight later they had an available slot for a Friday, and she thought, oh, should I do it or should we do something else? And instead, she arranged to go away for a weekend, so we went away for a weekend instead. But that was the change. She was looking on the site of the place where they were doing this parachute jump, and another bloke that went there, 50-year-old, jumped out of parachute, and his parachute failed and died. I think that was unlucky. I think that was my lucky save there, wasn't it? Because that was going to be me going for my 50th on the same day, and she didn't book it. Some other poor bloke ended up, but I mean, you take those risks, don't you? If you're going to throw yourself out of a plane, you put yourself in that position where you know there's an element of risk. And everything in life, there's an element of risk. If you're stupid enough to dick about with something that's, says caution, can result in injury if you stick your hand in. There's a draw to it, so I kind of, when you work with machinery, there's something in the back of your head that tells you, do you think you could touch that quick enough? Do you think you could do that? Can I touch that saw blade before it takes my finger off? But most normal people think, no, I can't. But I went to college with people in wood machining and training up, and he thought he could touch a spinning sanding disc with his finger and it not do no. And it whipped the tip of his finger off in like 10th of a second. And I like, why did you do that? I thought I could touch it before and pull my hand away quick enough. Yeah, but now you lost your tip of your finger, haven't you, you fucking idiot? But stupid, isn't it? See, he
learned his lesson, didn't he? I bet he ain't stuck his finger in again.
Yeah. We had another lad when I were in motor trade. We had a big guillotine, and the big guillotine you used to put you lift your foot off the pedal, and a guard came up. You put your piece of metal in, and you put it in. But you could do 2 or 3 pieces at once, sheet material. So me and a lad that were at college were putting this piece of metal in, and we just got it. You lined it up to a certain line, and then you jumped on it, and it cut your piece off. And this other dickhead come running, hang about, let me put mine in. Wham! And we'd already jumped. That was it. Fingertip, gone. See you later. But stupid. It can't be avoided sometimes. But yeah, it's one of them things, isn't it? Yeah. What was that? 100% were you there, Gaz? Gaz for Prime Minister.
Yeah, it's the suing culture, isn't it? There's a sensible thing to put a warning up, but if you climb over that fence, that's sort of warning saying danger, this cliff's going to fall, then it's your own fault, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then someone will go, well, that sign was 6 foot away. I thought this bit of cliff was all right.
All right, yeah. That's the only trouble with life, isn't it, nowadays? It's so much of that is it's unreal.
Back last winter, when we had all the snow, the council issued a letter to all the shop owners to tell them not to go and clean the snow off the paths at the front of the shops.
Yeah, because if they do, they accept liability.
Yeah, somebody slips over on the snow, ice, whatever, it's their fault. So they told them to leave it.
Andrew says, you can't cure stupid. You certainly can. A piece of lead in your ear, mate, delivered by a certain thing. That definitely cures stupid.
Yes.
But, yeah. Anyway, how has the sporting gone, Rick? We need to get back to the topics of koi. How did you leave talking about something you didn't want to talk about, eh? Go on. How's it going?
Yeah, all gone very well. Just a last couple want to spawn, haven't yet. I think we put 14 females in. As of when I left, we'd done 10. There were 2 Yamabukis to do, which we've already done some, so they're not. They're just.
You've already got thousands of them, haven't you?
Well,
you will have.
Because they're small young fish, so I'd rather do some eggs from all 4 in case there's a couple of bad lots, or because when you use the small youngsters like that, the chance of them not being.
The younger they are, the less viable they are, then, yeah.
It's just one of those things that when you haven't
the
spawned
eggs seem smaller, Rick.
The
eggs seem, from what I've seen when you've done it before and you had them in bag, the eggs from the Yamabuka, being a smaller fish, look smaller eggs.
Yeah, they're much smaller.
I know when they get water to them, they swell a little bit more, don't they? And they expand a little bit more once they've been fertilised and you've scattered them or sown them or whatever you want to class it as, whatever you spread them around.
Yeah, they expand massively when they for what comes out of the fish. I don't know exactly. They must swell about 8 times in size.
Yeah.
To the finished sort of egg, but yeah, a very sort of smaller female when the first time you spawn them. They probably still got the same number of eggs, but they're a lot smaller. And as that fish, next time you spawn it, when she's bigger, you look like you get a lot more eggs, but the eggs are twice the size.
Now, does that have any effect on fry or
only in they hatch smaller?
They hatch smaller. Does that mean that they might potentially grow smaller?
No, there's no impact on that side of it. It's just the problem is if we put those eggs in with, say, one of the big fish we spawn at the same time, they hatch on the same day. Yeah, they hatch on the same day, but the fry are half the size, which is minuscule. But when you feed them after a week, there's a big difference.
Yeah, you've got like a 2 cm to a 1 cm fish, and then you
quite
end up
literally
with
to start
on
with,
the others.
a big difference. But for the Yamabukis, it doesn't. For what we're doing, it doesn't really matter. But
will the fry consume the other fry, Rich?
Not until they're up to a certain size, which is sort of 2-3 weeks old. You'll get enough size discrepancy where they would do. But it's not just the size. Obviously, it's not so much the size of the fry. Obviously, the egg is yolk sac. So when that egg hatches, basically it's a little tiny thing with a giant egg sac on the bottom of it. So obviously, the bigger the egg sac, that fish, by the time it's absorbed that and ready to start looking for food, you've got a bigger fish, haven't you? So that's why that happens. if you keep them, it's just one of those. We've got to do it. I would rather spawn lots of smaller fish, as long as those small fish have got the genetics, and some of them haven't, and that's like the little gimrins we did. They're never going to make big fish. They're not from jumbo bloodlines. They're not going to make big fish. They just make very pretty fish up to 40, 50 centimeters.
Yeah, which is
that's what they're designed.
That's what you're breeding them for. Yeah.
So, yeah. Eat horses for courses. The main reason this lot was obviously we had Lee's Welsh Dragon male in, so he'd be rocking and beating crap out of everything.
Then you pissed him off.
Yeah, we've used him for four different females, and then obviously we had Joe's Crimson Thunder in, who's the biggest male in the whole lot, and produced the
least. Had a question if it performed
the least milk of all of the males in there. So we're getting more milk from a 30 centimeter Gimrin Sankey that's 2 years old than a 73 centimeter.
Wow.
And that's just it happens sometimes. It's, we've got enough out of it to do
what needs to be done.
The 3 spawnings we've put him with. There's one Kahaku left to do, and he's still in there now. Everything else basically moved out already. So we moved in 30 whatever fish yesterday. Yeah, with Vince was filming, so we did it Wednesday lunchtime. Yeah. 35 fish went in there. By this afternoon, the majority of them are now back out into their own ponds again. They're done. It's just the few that haven't spawned.
Is that just round one? Will there be another spawning again?
Yeah, that's round one. So we normally do 4 rounds. But
wow.
we're probably going to only do 3.
So I know I've asked you this before, but for all those that don't know, and I already know the answer, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Do you use anything to induce, so to speak, the females, to a hormone injection to get them geared up, get them going?
We used to, but you get so many knock-on issues, and typically, I said, Vince asked the same thing Wednesday. I said, no, we don't need to, because if a male's got milk, you give it the right stimulation, you've always got plenty of milk. You're not getting false indicators. If you inject males, they act like the female's spawning, and they go absolutely mental.
Yeah.
Just because of the hormones running through them where you've overdone it, and it gives you a false indicator that female's actually laying eggs, because they're going absolutely ballistic. And when you inject the females, when you do it with normal carp and stuff, no drama at all. But when you do it with koi, we've had issues with what's called partial ovulation, where some of the eggs, the blood vessels that connect all the eggs, release, and those eggs are then fluid inside the body cavity, but other sections don't, so they block the way to the vent, and that's when you start having problems with rotten eggs in fish and fish keeling over, because they can't clear. Naturally, what happens is they release hormones, all those blood vessels disappear, and all the eggs just run out of the fish, basically.
Yeah.
You become fluid. You tip the fish up, they just go. And we've had issues, probably 1 in 4, when we used to inject them, would start spawning, releasing eggs, but not released properly, and have blockages of sections of eggs that were still connected with the vessels and solid lumps of tissue. And then you've basically...
You've lost the fish, it's done.
Potentially, yeah, you'll get sections that will just start rotting in the fish that they can't clear.
So not advisable, but it's
got its place.
Yeah.
And we've had the odd fish that really won't spawn, and that Aragoki's starting to do mating because it wouldn't spawn last year. It's full of eggs. We'll try it this time, it'll go back, we'll try it again, but it might come towards the end of the year. I go, well, you're going to get a whack of hormone.
Yeah.
You've had so many chances. We'll get the eggs out by hook or by crook almost, but the risk to the fish is quite high, so it's not something recommend. It's not something you should do. You can, we moved 14 females yesterday lunchtime. 10 of
Mate, we all know what females are like. They can be fickle things. You have to wine them and dine them, and you have to treat them right, or otherwise it ain't happening tonight.
Not
could be one of those things.
Lee's male says you don't. I mean, the tank he was in, every single fish spawned within 12 hours. I think they were like, get me out of here. So, you get fish like that. Some of the males are absolute beasts, and they will hammer everything. And obviously that's a stimulation as well to the females.
Yeah.
Like or lumpet, treat them mean, apparently.
But that's how they are, though, isn't it? That's how they are to be, isn't it? In nature, that's what the males would do. They just literally ram the crap out of them until they did what they need to do. But at the end of the day, it's for the next generation, isn't it? It's all about spawning to produce, to bring on the next. But you're interfering here a little bit, and we're doing it just for our purposes.
Yeah, but there's the pros and cons to everything, isn't there? So if I'd only put, oh my days, so set off the smoke alarms.
That's yours. I thought it was mine.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Look at that.
Best way to sort that is with a broom and just knock it off the ceiling.
You can tell Zoe's cooking tonight, Rich.
Yeah, I know.
It's ready.
Done.
What was that?
A chicken strip.
Oh God! No way. My mum used to cook like that.
Well happy.
My mum used to cook like that.
Going back to the spawnings, imagine if we put Joe's fishing and the female, one of the females that have spawned, and you put them in and you let them get on with it, they won't go through the whole motions, and you'd be like, fantastic. But he's not producing. I mean, I have got milk out of him, but he's not producing milk to fertilize eggs in that scenario. So they'd go through all those motions, and then you'd have a complete duff batch of eggs if you'd let them spawn naturally. And you'd be like, do you blame the male? Do you blame the female? At least when we do it and we take them out, you can take the milk out. And if you can be bothered, you can go and put it under the microscope, put a tiny bit of water on it and check the mobility and the quantity and the viability of the milk, which we used to do, but it's just a bit of a nonsense because it's generally all right. If you've got proper milk coming out, it's normally fine. But yeah, everyone has their ways of doing stuff. We've got our way of doing it. It looks so crude, so simple, but it's just effective.
But it doesn't need to be any more complicated than that, though, Rick, does it? I mean, being there, done it at a go ourselves. The bit which I think might be worthwhile because I mean, there's many a person out there that probably wants to have a go, probably thinks, I'd love to spawn my fish and see what my own fry did and see what this fish and that fish put together would produce and what have you. If you were, I imagine there's more to it than, just a couple of days beforehand. Is there any preparation that you do with the fish back end of last season, getting them ready for spring together, whatever? The order in which you would go to set fish ready for spawning, the best methods, easiest methods for somebody to be able to replicate at home should they want to?
Not really, mate. If the fish has got plenty of food through the summer, a female would develop her eggs. So if in your pond, if you had a flock spawning, you saw a fish spawn, obviously the volume of the fish changes massively. You think, okay, so if you feed the fish properly all summer, they will develop their eggs again within about 12 weeks. So the fish will be plump. We continue feeding temperature related. We will keep feeding right through the winter. They're generally most of the ponds are in polytunnels, but it's just keep them in mint condition. You'll never, if you've got any health issues, then you're onto a loser. And for most people, if you're going to spawn your fish, you're going to stick them in a separate paddling pool, whatever. You need to make sure they are as disease-free as you can physically do it. Because if you're going to do it, put the parents in, let them spawn and keep the the offspring, every single bacteria, virus, parasite is being transferred to those.
To the young. Yeah.
So if you've got flukes on those fish, then you've got flukes on you. You're going to be killing your fry, even if you do spawn and have, it's just an absolute. So those fish need to be, disease free as possible. They will still carry, and this is perhaps where you get different strengths in offspring. So our fish we try and produce as sterile as possible, which is for our benefit, and those that take those fish and keep them separate, it's phenomenal. You don't have any issues like the growing shows. They can take the fry, take 100 fish, and out of 100 people, 95 will have 100 fish survive, no issue at all. If you let them self-spawn, you are then passing on sleeping sickness, you're passing on any bacteria, whatever, and obviously the surviving
surviving fry have got to get through all that shit.
They're stronger for it on one hand, but you don't get the survive. You have a lot more issues with them whilst rearing, raising, and dealing with them.
Yeah.
So there's different sides to that sort of coin. But yeah, parasite-wise, if you've got any type of parasites on the fish, then you're in deep doo-doo with the fry.
Yeah.
So, Rich, going the other way with them, is there anything you can do to stop your fish from spawning? So I'm just thinking of Sean last year, if you remember, when we were at the National, all his fish spawned at home. No, he's obviously taking
National as well. Don't take them to a coin show.
Yeah, no, but this is at home. So if it happens at the show, it happens at the show. But you wouldn't want your fish spawning at home a week before the show day, would you?
No, you've got, like, in reality, you've got sort of 10 triggers. So you imagine your fish is there, and its pituitary gland, its hormones, have got sort of 10 things that will increase that level of hormone through its body. So raising, water temperatures going from 16 to 20, that's a rapid change in temperature is one stimulus. Light levels increasing is another stimulus. Water turbidity. So if you've got a crystal clear pond and it suddenly goes green, that is another stimulus. So if you start putting all these different things together,
and is that would that work the opposite way? If you had a pure green pond and then all of a sudden it went really clear,
by changing that
or
environment,
would they prefer the more darky, tingier water because it's more safe from all that?
I mean, carp are river fish, so what their original stimulus for spawning is when it floods in the spring. So basically, when the water, so you imagine a river system, it's pretty barren, and suddenly the water level comes up, and all those bushes and grasses and whatever, they go up into the banks where it floods. That's where they naturally sort of spawn, and that's the trigger. So obviously the water goes from clear to coloured, the temperature comes up rapidly, all the spawning media. So that plays a massive. If you've got a square pond with nothing in, they don't want to spawn in it. It's really quite difficult to get them to spawn in it. But suddenly, if you drop that level and just chuck in some blanket weed, that can be enough just to trigger them. Or you get a growth of blanket weed. Suddenly, they've got something to lay their eggs on. Yeah, so at water depth, there's all these different things. And unfortunately, a show vat is about half of those triggers. So a lot of those fish are coming from deep, square, very temperature-controlled ponds to suddenly they're going into shallow where the water temperature fluctuates, and boom, fish are spawning in all the vats. And there's not a lot you can do about that unless you do a winter show or do it at a temperature that doesn't potentially cause that. But yeah, so literally all we do is take the fish. We try and keep them in environment A where there's nothing to spawn on. We're not changing the water depth, whatever, and we just put them into little vats that just trigger all those natural things. And lo and behold, normally we get 90% of the fish will spawn within 48 hours. Done.
So in Sean's case, then all his plants in his pond, you would say get them out of the pond.
Anything hanging in the pond. So you might have found that he went away and just a lot of ponds the levels never really change or whatever. But it would only take a plant to suddenly grow into the water, and you have an extra bright sunny day I was surprised he's heated though, isn't he? So he was probably running at 24 anyway.
No, he's only 17.
Right, so he's right. He's right. If he's at 17 and suddenly have a warm day and it takes up to 20, he's right naturally in that horrible window. If you're at 24, they won't do it. If you maintain your pond above that spawning temperature, they're not interested.
So
get it up. Say that.
So you're saying get it up to 24.
If he's up to 24 and stays at 24, the chances are there'll be no interest whatsoever.
Not interested. Right. Yeah. When you were saying there about like getting the conditions so that they're right, obviously parameters and all that right and everything. It's going back a few years ago when I had the smaller pond. I say that smaller pond. I had 2 pots with lilies in it, and they were small, the smaller little lily pad, and they grew like crazy on that particular stretch of that early spring. They started loads of them covering surface at pond. And then I noticed I had 2 kidney baskets, and those 2 kidney baskets had bulrushes growing in it. I hadn't realised, but the kidney baskets had burst open and the side had, broken away. And there was tons and tons of really small white filament type roots coming out with little shoots coming off everywhere. And there were loads and loads of them. And I've only ever had my fish spawn once. And at that time when they did was when all that, like you say, media as such, and plant roots were there, and the lilies that were all growing with the little, stalks and it all coming up through the water, probably was the best time I'd ever had that much greenery growing in the pond. And other than that, they've never ever spawned ever, and never even looked or even seen anything chasing them around. That one time that they did well. Yeah.
I wonder if the temperature thing is related to the oxygen levels in the water.
Well, the temperature is their natural temperature to spawn at, so your oxygen shouldn't be really an issue in most koi ponds. And obviously, the fact that they virtually always spawn at night, except for some of ours didn't today. Going all through the day, but yeah. So again, and that's another trigger. If some people got ponds where they almost have continual light from housing, street lights, whatever. Yeah. And again, you go to a show, whatever, you move them, and you go into proper darkness. They naturally want to. I presume the water clarity safety naturally from predators. They spawn at night, so they're harder to see because they're exposing themselves around the edges in the shallow, so they're super vulnerable. So if they do it at night and they do it when the water's coloured, it's a safety margin that the predators can't see them as easy. It's just all those natural triggers, isn't it? We just mimic them to make them spawn, or don't mimic them if you don't want them to spawn. If you've got a pond with no males in there, the chances are they're not going to spawn. I have seen that, but it's very rare. Males are a stimulus to the females. It's as simple as that. The temperature, the light level, the depth of the water, something to spawn on, the water clarity, all of those things add up a percentage to make those fish get jiggy or not. So for Sean's case, if you don't want them to spawn, just take them out of a temperature where they're going to spawn. Bring the temperature up to 24 degrees and maintain that, and they won't spawn.
And you're saying, Rick, from like 16, if you wanted them to spawn, separating your males from your females, giving them a little bit of a cooler water temperature, as in 16, 17 degrees, and then when you want them to spawn, bring your males into an environment and then introduce your females to them into a slightly warmer by a few degrees.
Yeah, well, we don't even do that. That isn't, it does help, but we just generally move the males and females live in the ponds together, and they're normally at a lower temperature. So yeah, as they're coming up towards 20 degrees. So yeah, so they're 17. I like to give them about 4 degree upward shock.
Jump up. Yeah.
So people worry about floating fish and doing it. We purposely take them out of one and drop them straight into warmer water. That is sort of one of the number one triggers to do it. We just do it all at the same time. We don't put them out. I did put one male in a day early, because it was coming from a colder pond, it just gives it a bit more time
to come up, not to be too much of a massive jump.
Yeah, well, not so much massive jump, just takes more time. If you're taking a fish out of 15 degrees and he's basically got no milk because he's not even been thinking about it, it just gives him a bit of time.
So for all the time that you've got your normal stock, then your males and females are all mixed constant.
They all live together. Yeah.
No. I didn't know whether or not you separated
in an ideal world, you keep them separate. But I've got enough ponds of brute to do that. It'd be even worse. And like I say, those fish have lived together for 364 days, and I move them for 1 day of a year to do what they do, and then they're back in their pond for 364 days again.
It's crazy, isn't it? You think like sex for a full year.
It literally is. Like I said, we get them out. So all of that, looking after those broodstock, not using treatments that can potentially, and again, there's chemicals that you can use that will sort of damage the eggs in the milk or sterilize the fish. So that's another thing that you used to get with fish treatments, that you could use certain things. And some of the jack farms
reduce the fertility of the fish as well.
Yeah, so those fish become infertile. So you've got to be, everything you do with those broodstock, from my point of view, is leading up to those 12 to 24 hours when they do what they've just done. And so that's the feeding regime, the water quality. We found, obviously, if the stress levels of the fish are too high, the egg quality is no good. If the diet the fish have been on is not good, then the eggs are no good. If you've got consistent high nitrite or nitrate is through the roof, the egg quality is really bad. So all these things have got to be, those fish have got to spend 364 days in an environment that's good.
Yeah.
12 hours they spend in the spawning vats, those vats are minging by the time they've dropped.
If somebody was to be doing a flock spawn in a sense, or even if they wanted to do like 2 carcoo males with 1 female, and they were doing it in a pool, so to speak, putting all natural brushes in there. One thing I've heard people say about when they go through the spawning procedure and everything, that elevates the ammonia in the water. Is it a good thing to reduce that by water changing it out a little bit, or adding these people that use a bit of meth blue or what have you to protect the eggs, stop them from going bad and all the rest of it? Or is any of that really necessary?
Yeah, it depends on, for most people, the amount of eggs. The problem is they will lay so many eggs. That's why there's so much pollution. And in a natural spawning, if you've got 10%, if you put 2 decent females into a little paddling pool to spawn, and they spawn in there, and you also got no filtration on it because you just set it up to chuck them in, they might drop 500,000 eggs, but you're only going to maybe have a 10% hatch rate. It's still way too many. So you've got 50,000 in this paddling pool, but you've got 450,000 eggs that are going to rot, basically. So that's why the ammonia and all the milk and all the variable fluid and else is, you'd be much better off as soon as they spawn, just take a small amount of the media, whatever they've laid their eggs on, and put them into a separate piece of water, and just totally
already pre-prepared, and just then you cut it. So all those eggs that aren't settled on, like your spawn ropes or whatever you've made, like you use a bit of twining in there and all mixed up and whatever. So if you was to pick up them, take that, because that's a hell of a lot of eggs that will have settled on them surfaces, and just hatch that lot out, leaving all what will have fallen all over the bottom of the pool, and just because you end up with mass clumps of it everywhere, don't you? When in the bottom of a pool, there's tons of it.
Yeah, so obviously when we transfer the eggs to the hatchery, obviously we're just taking a percentage of the eggs that we want, the milk, we set them in trays, but then we only then put the eggs, once they're fertilized, put the eggs in, and all that waste milk and ovarian fluid gets dumped as well. So the more, it's almost like a cleaning process. So by the time they actually end up in the hatchery ponds, it is just purely the fertilized egg, nothing else going in there.
Yeah.
So you're starting with a much cleaner, and you're not putting loads of eggs in there. You're just putting in the number that you sort of want for that pond. But yeah, if you had a spawning in, even in your main pond, if you just took 1 little handful of the weed, the roots, the mops,
whatever it is that they spawned on.
A clean hatching vat, and you can almost hatch them in a bloody aquarium or whatever. You don't need, if you're starting with a small amount, you don't need a lot of space, but the fry, you'll see the space the fry need escalates massively.
Yeah.
You know, you hatch 10,000 fry. Okay, you can hatch for 10,000 fry in an aquarium, no bother. But you can't keep 10,000
fry in a fortnight when they're all starting to grow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost a
become quick.
Yeah, we kind of work on it. It's kind of a 10-fold rule. So obviously we'll set X amount of eggs into the small ponds in the hatchery, and they're say 1,000, 1,500 gallons a pond. Then we'll transfer X amount of those fry to a pond that's 10 times the size. And then when we do our first cull, we reduce them by 90%. So you just keep this almost once a month almost. You need 10 times more space for the fish, or you've got to reduce the numbers by 90%. And that's where you go from 1 million fish to 1,000 fish quite rapidly. So, but that's.
And then again, if you're wanting to grade out again and again and again and again till you get that number one fish, you know, you can take your numbers down from 1 million fish down to 10, and then have a grade through them again when you come to your midway through. I mean, what was it what you were getting 35 cm at 10? What was it? 14, 15, 16 weeks old or something daft? You were hitting 30 cm mark.
The grow and show ones, the biggest ones were 40 centimeters at 6 months. So that's obviously that's us. That's giving a small number of fish to hobbyists that have got the ability to grow fish. Once they turn up at an inch, they can give those fish that growing environment and reduce the numbers and increase the space to give them. It's not for people to say, is it healthy forcing them? You're not forcing them. You're just giving them the absolute
the right environment.
The right environment at each key stage as they're going through. So the right amount of food, the right amount of space, the right water quality, the right temperature. That is what the fish will do. The genetics obviously play a part, but you could pretty much do that with most varieties. Even if a fish is only going to grow to 60 centimeters fully grown, you could probably get it up to 40 at a year old. It's still only going to get to 60. Whatever you do with it, you're just getting it there quicker.
Yeah. I mean, it's anything different about that, and being a fish in a natural environment that gets a real good season when there's a high abundance of foods and resources out there for them. In wild, they would grow as well as they possibly could with what the environment provides.
It's like a perfect storm, isn't it? If you know why a carp can grow like it does. So the normal lake, our lake, when they spawn, they must lay 100 million eggs a year, and normally there's zero survival. It's not because the eggs are bad. It's not because they're not being fertilized by the males and whatever. It's because between, the things that eat the eggs when they're laid, which include the parents, to all the bugs that eat them, to the billions of silverfish that eat the fry as soon as they hatch, your numbers, but there might be one or two that make it through that gauntlet. Suddenly there's the perfect temperature, the perfect water quality, and the perfect amount of food. Those fish will grow at that crazy, over a centimetre a week continually. Obviously, what we do as koi keepers is we give them that environment and we extend it beyond our natural 2 months of the year we have in this country to 10 months of the year.
When I used to be, well, I don't obviously go as much as what I used to do, but when I was a teenager, I used to be fishing every day a week, damn near. I'd be straight home from school, get my tackle straight down to a local fishing lake. And you'd see it around this time of year now, you'd see the effects of fish. They'd be topping, they'd be rolling. You could see them driving females. You'd see them all cruising around, chasing after each other. And then as it started to get a little bit warmer, then you'd see around in shallow margins, tons and tons and tons of fry, just big groups, big mass numbers of them, whether they be silverfish, whether they be, carp or whatever. They'd all be cruising around in shallows. And then as you got towards back end at summer, you'd start to catch a few of those little silverfish that'd end up being the little pestering bastards that smash hell out your maggots or bait or whatever you were fishing on. But you never ever saw the pond become overpopulated with too much stock because some predated on them and they ended up keeping the numbers down. And then you would see towards the following spring, nice little mirrorcat coming out at this sort of size, which you knew were obviously the young from year before or whatever that had just come through and managed to get 6-8 inches. But it's cool to watch them go through all that and develop and see them. I can understand, there's like Colin Coy's asked there, how do you get into the growing show with a difference? As Vince is hard to get an answer out of. I can understand people. I can really understand people wanting to do it. I've enjoyed it with tropicals. Spawning fish, watching them bring the young on and all the rest of it, and seeing them fish grow up and then keeping them fish and having them for a few years, and then you switch to a different type of fish and see if you can get them to imitate it, but doing it on a smaller number. I can understand people getting fixated with and enjoying the breeding of fish, the growing on a fry, the being in part of the growing show with a difference, because it is enjoyable to see what you can do as a hobbyist and a keeper, watching them grow on. It's cool.
It's a hobby, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Just go back onto that temperature thing, right? So if you set at 24, at some point or another, you've got to get the temperature back down to match out the show vats.
Yeah.
Which is the reason why there you go. It's one of the reasons why they trigger, isn't it? A drop in temperature, they go into a show vat, it's cold overnight, and all of a sudden they've gone from 24 degrees down to their 18 degrees. When you're shipping them or moving them, getting them down to 17, you get them in a show vat, overnight it drops to 10, comes back up to 18, boom, fall they go.
So you better go in the opposite way, putting the coolers on and chilling the water down.
Well, most people would already, if you run your pond at 24 degrees and you're going to go to a show, you should be dropping your temperature down to the ambient temperature over the few weeks before the show anyway. So when they go, so you'll be dropping down to maybe 17, 18 anyway. Fish gradually cooling isn't a particularly bigger. It's not a great trigger to get them to spawn. So coming up is, coming down steady generally isn't. But like I say, the problem is if you drop them down to 18 to go to the show and they go into the vats, and like Gaz said, and that drops to 16 over the first night, and then the next day the sun comes out and boom, they're up to 22. That's
the trigger.
Yeah. You can't. You're not going to avoid it. But if you just put, if he's got a few females, if he just showed females, he'd be less likely. But even Chips fish spawned. He had three dirty great females.
He had 3 females going back on his own.
And they were all spawning with each other because the triggers just were enough, even without males in there. Because I said to him, Christ, you got a massive male. Just watching them spawn, and I thought, oh Christ, you got a male, and he's like, no, they're all female. They're just the hormones have kicked in to the point where they're going to drop their eggs, and they'll just thrash around with each other, and what a mess.
Yeah.
There isn't a perfect storm. You can do your utmost by, if you not having males in the back will help, because the males are a problem, but it's only one trigger. If you ask the show committee nicely to make sure the water doesn't go above or below, but it's an impossibility in that. Normally it's too cold. Even late June, we'll have it's cold, isn't it? Quite often at the National. This year we had that hot day on the Saturday, and look what happened.
It was just enough, wasn't it? But it was a hot day, wasn't it? So they went cold, come up, come warm, and away they went. Or you could tell him to keep males because they don't spawn.
But you can see why the other koi shows in Japan are through the winter and stuff. It's not an issue. Could you imagine them taking those fish and the temperature fluctuating like it does, and all those big fish, £1 million fish, smashing each other to bits in show vats?
Yeah,
it just would be a different world. But that's what do you do? That's when people want to go to a koi show in this country. that's when it works for the hobbyist shows in this country. It's just the one downside is you're going to get that, and you can't stop it.
Talking of the spawning that you've done, me and Mr. Tate was absolutely over the moon this morning when we found out that you'd actually spawned the Yamabukis, and that was brilliant, mate. Nice one. Best choice you've made out of all the spawnings that you've ever done. And Mr. Tate loves them, and he'll love it when he comes down later on in season when he gets to see all those Yamabukis when you're going through grading some of them. Well, you, Mr. Tate, if you're still watching. But you actually spawned some Yamabukis crossed with some other bits and bats as well, didn't you?
Yeah,
am I not supposed to know that?
Yeah, no.
Oh,
the reason for it is those males are in there to go with the Aragoki for some of my crazy stuff, but some of those males will make the same result with the Ginrin Yamabuki. If that makes sense, I can still get my Ginrin Aragoki, Mizuno Ogon, or Ki Matsuba, or Yellow Dragon, or whatever you want to call them, with that cross. So as much as I keep the Ginrin Yamabuki strain straight. There's only so many, certainly in small stuff. I can't sell 100,000 of them, so we'll do some of the males that I already had there that were sat there waiting to be used. Might as well just go in there and give us a bit of a mix.
He likes Yamabukis, does Mr. Tate?
Yeah.
No.
So do you keep those mixes separate then, Rick?
Normally, but today, just the way it was panning out, I did. As far as we've done, two females. The majority of the milk is pure Ginrin Yamabuki, so the bulk of the fish will be pure Ginrin Yamabuki. They breed straight.
That's brilliant as far as I'm concerned. That's the best spawn you've ever done. And because
that's simple, isn't it? That's the problem.
I've not known you do Yamabukis before. So again, I've not known you do Yamabukis before.
Yeah.
I know you've had some Yamabukis because mine's the one that I've got in my pond. Well, the smaller one out of the two that I've got is from you, but that's not from the Yamabuki spawning, is it?
No. We used to do pure Yamabukis, but they breed true, so they are literally. There is no variation.
You'll not get no else from your true spawn that you've done. You're just going to throw shit tons of Yamabukis.
They would just literally be, and obviously your grading is then on skin luster, body quality, shape, all the rest of it. But every single fish is pure yellow. Even we've got some old videos of the fry, and you cage up 100,000 fry, and they are just yellow, a swarm of. Not the slightest.
I could empty my pond out, buy me 2 Yamabukis, and just wait for a whole season and just come down and buy a shit ton of them and just have Yamabukis straight. That's no more. I'd love that. That'd be cool.
But yes, so we crossed a Mizuno Ogon in, so that'll give us. So basically, the Matsuba is quite strong, so you'll get Kin Matsuba, you'll get Aragoki Kin Matsuba. Got the Ginrin, so you'll then get a percentage of Ginrins from those as well. So you just put a slightly different twist on it, and then we also did the second lot. I think we put in an Aragoki Ochiba, so you get Kongain Ochiba, so you get the metallic.
Oh, nice! They are nice, aren't they? Yeah, so you get that nice, sweet. Didn't you throw in? Did you not throw in a red Kajaku and all?
Yeah. No, we didn't. I didn't put. I put them. Yeah, Deutsch one I did.
So you put Deutsch Kajaku with a Yamabuka.
Yeah. That gives you. So you get the dark scale. So you get the Matsuba. So you get Wagoi, Aragoki, Deutsch. From that, you'll get a darker. So you orange is a stronger color. So you won't get red, but you'll get a darker orange from it. And because you're putting that pattern in, you'll get a certain amount of sort of Harawaki, Sakura Ogon type stuff. Some with the Matsuba Mon, some without. Some with Ginrin, some without. It just gives you that range of fish. But those males were kind of in there all to be going with the Ginrin Aragoki. So I had 9 males lined up for her. So she's the lucky one who's not spawning. Whereas the Yamabukis really are just 1-to-1. And that's just how you do it.
Do you think you'll get her to go? Do you think is she still there waiting, or is she?
Yeah, she's just out there eating everything and getting beaten up by the males. She'll come up you walk to the tank and she comes up for food and all the males just. She will or she won't, but yeah, it's just different fish, isn't it? Horse. A lot of the time, we'll just do one male to one female because that is the best Sankey. That's the Sankey we want to do. That's the Kahaki we want to do. That's the Yamabuki we want to do. But for something like that, where you've got such a massive variation in its blood, that I can cross it with so many different things. Normal Akamatsuba to make non-metallic Aragokis and Ginrin Aragokis. So that's lined up to go with Yamabuki to make Ginrin Aragoki Yamabuki. It's just optional. It's a mouthful, but we sold one to Tony the other day. Absolutely stunning little fish.
Yeah, I've got to admit, he had them over at Aoki. He had some. They weren't Ginrin, but they were Aragoki Yamabukis, and they looked class, man. They were proper nice. So yeah, I'll be having my name on one of them, mate. If you get some of them, that'll look even Ginrin and all. That'll even better.
What you need, Rick, for next year is a nice Ginrin Benigoi.
Wow.
Sparkly goldfish, yeah.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I think if we do the here at Surrey, I'll just keep some orange fry, and I've got more Ginrin Benigoi that you can shake a stick at. It's just one of those.
Because you just get all them as rejects anyway, don't you?
Yeah, if you just pick only a percentage would be Ginrin, and only a percentage, you just pick the better ones, and they grow like wildfire. But again, yeah, they it's a cull that we've culled for 30 years, but has got a market. And I've never really kept them. The last few years we've kept a few, and they've sold really well. And it's like, perhaps we should have kept a few more. But
single colours, mate. I think people appreciate them as well. A little bit of something different. I think when we spoke about this before, haven't we, over the last couple of weeks and whatever, about the Ghost Sankey not being as popular. I'm not saying they're not popular because they are the most popular, but they're not as popular as what they have been years gone by. And it's becoming a little bit more difficult and a little bit more of a push. And you're left with end of season.
I think the problem with it, probably that people know now what a perfect Kahaku is.
Exactly, mate, yeah. And it's the ones that aren't as good a quality that end up being the more difficult ones to move.
Yeah.
But there's a massive flip side to it. So if you take a yellow dragon, right? Basically, people are paying for a scalation. So a black scale on a yellow fish and how those scales align, and obviously a cleaner version, whatever. But yeah, you're talking about a fish that's parents cost 1/10 of what a good Kahaku parent set would cost. And you probably get 100 times more sellable offspring that look like that. So its value should be 1,000th of a good Kahaku. Yet we're seeing a good yellow dragon sell for, rather than 1,000th of a good Kahaku, double a good Kahaku.
Yeah.
That's just completely, and that won't maintain because it's only.
No, it's just a bit of something different, isn't it? People.
Exactly. Same as some of the Aragokis. I mean, the amount of koi breeders that have dumped millions of those crazy scaled fish because they're rejects and have been rejects for 30 years. Now they're popular. So it's like, oh, that's selling for loads of money.
Money for old rope, mate, isn't it?
So, yeah, we'll jump on that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and why not? I mean, at the end of the day, if the demand's there, you've got to supply the demand, don't you? Other sports shops are available.
And like I say, we, on Wednesday's video with Vince, we went through, so we had all the Gosanki, getting all the brood stock, and there's like a vat of Gosanki, and there's 25 grams worth of fish sat there that those fish have cost. I'm going to have to use 10 ponds to raise a handful of those up to a decent level to sell them for £100 each. And then get the next one up. This vat of Aragoki and all these weird and wonderful males have cost £2.5 grand. So 1/10 of the value. and they will produce 10 times more money.
Yeah.
Thank you. So from a business point of view, it is for us to do Ghost Hanky is just an absolute. It isn't a business. It's, you know, a bank manager would say, "Well, no, don't do that. Do that."
They would, wouldn't they? They would. It's not viable, is it, to keep flogging a dead horse?
So
that's the reason why Adam stopped doing it, wasn't it?
It's cheaper for that sort of stuff. It's cheaper to go out to Japan, buy a load of little Ghost Hanky, bring them back and grow them on. Of course it is. But that, from my point of view, that just you're not a koi farm, then are you? You're just a dealer buying and selling fish. So that's that from a financial point of view, 100%. I could go and buy the fish, grow them, and make more money on those varieties. Would I get any enjoyment? I get enjoyment out. Would I get any sort of satisfaction from it? No. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, you've still got the traditionalist in you that wants to produce the perfect carcass, the perfect
Produce when you produce good ones that can go off to a dealer or go off to a customer, and they could not tell you the difference.
Yeah.
But financially, it's not. But we need it in the shop, and obviously, the shop now is a separate entity to the farm because of the pet shop license and all that shenanigans. But for the last 30 years, it was all under one umbrella. So we didn't need a pet shop license because we're the producer of the fish, and the shop was part of the farm. And part of our biosecurity is that you don't buy and sell fish from anywhere else apart from what you produce. So every single fish in the shop and on the farm was produced on the farm. That's what. Yeah. So DEFRA and CFAS and all that, the biosecurity is all to do with everything is your fish. You've got a traceability of absolutely everything. And to have a shop, you've got to have Kahaku, Sankey, Show, or whatever as part of your mixes. So that's part why we do it. And me being just love koi, I want to do the best ones of those I can. But from a business point of view, it's just an absolute joke. I could make 10 times more money on those varieties by buying, growing, and selling them. Than trying to
over the 35 years, Rick, how often have you seen these rise and falls in fads?
It's pretty much continual. You know, what's
still like the skinny jeans and bell bottoms and all that lot coming back every 10 years or so, isn't it? And all the fashions that roll back over again and again and again and again.
I think it's a lot faster now with the likes of the Stoddards, Ricky and Ryan and other people, other sort of influencers going, shit, look at this amazing fish. You know, this you need this yellow dragon in your life, or you need this yellow monkey. You know, it's £500 for a Gimrin Crashigoi, but it's a yellow monkey and everyone's going mental. And then a year later going, you can get Gimrin Crashigoi from over here, they're as good. Or you can get Gimrin Crashigoi, but it's just it's that developing a hype for a particular variety, a particular fish, show them what they can do in a given environment. And there's no doubt about it. Some of those fish are amazing.
Bullshit baffles brains, doesn't it? At the end of the day.
It's not so much bullshit, but it's one of those. It's madness. There's the amount of people clambering over those Dainichi yellow monkeys. But Konishi have been the best Crashigoi producers in the world for donkey's years. And
then all of a sudden, Dainichi produce a yellow monkey.
You can't get them. You can't get them in this country very easily. So I really to them. So the marketing, someone that's good with what they do, can get hold of a bunch of fish and go, well, these are the best of these available. There's only 1,000, and Dainichi are good at limiting, production to keep that demand and keep the price high for a fish that is quite easy for them to produce compared to.
Was it last year with the yellow monkeys that they had to fail spawning and there weren't going to be any available? There was only a few available, and then boom, everybody had them.
And they were everywhere, and now they're brown, silver, white.
Yeah, that's it.
Right. Quality is quality, innit? And at the end of the day, those that know. It doesn't matter if you get a Konishi, a Marihiro, a Nakawa, a good Crashigoi blood is a good Crashigoi blood.
Like the Welsh dragon, Rick.
Colin, mate, you ain't seen the Dragon Slayers, Welsh Dragons, Welsh Samurai, Welsh Warriors, Crimson Thunders, Crimson Moons. Mate, there's a bandwagon, and we've jumped on it with tongue in cheek, with a cheeky.
Why? Yeah, but why the hell not? The cheeky monkeys, mate. At the end of the day, they were bloody nice.
But the funny thing about that is that those fish we've been juicing for years. Okay, so we sell one for 30 quid that will cost you 300 quid elsewhere. And my boss said, oh, for Christ's sake, we're only... I said, yeah, but we're getting 30 quid fish now because of that hype that we'd have only got 10 quid for before. So it's increased the value of our fish because of that demand from elsewhere.
Yeah.
You can't moan about stuff, can you? At the end of the day, you know, when we've got 100,000 yellow dragons, Ryan's going to be... He's done a good job for us, hasn't he?
Yeah.
It's like...
Is it a yellow dragon just a key Mizogon?
Well, it's a kin Matsuba.
A kin Matsuba.
It's basically a yellow and black Deutsch Matsuba, but to get that nice sort of double line of scales, they are beautiful fish, good ones. But
are you likely to produce any of them from any of the spawns that you've done this time?
If
because I know you always have the orange ones, don't you?
Yeah, the Mizuno Ogons is more common, but that's mental because I mean Hirasawa or Marseille's been doing them for 30 years. Our original ones are brought from him 30 years ago. He's done that line, and they're stunning fish, but they've never had that
hype.
The hype to make them suddenly, you know, they're cheap fish because he can produce good examples quite easily that are quite recognizable. And you go out there and toe sire 50 quid, knee sire 200 quid or whatever. That's just his standard, you know, better examples. Obviously, once you get bigger, the real good ones are a lot more money. But yeah, and they do grow quite big, those ones. Generally grow a lot bigger than your yellow dragons. But yeah, difference. Who knows? There's so much variation. It has changed. That's the biggest thing that's changed. 30 years ago, you didn't have YouTube, WhatsApp, TikTok, all this hype that, you know, a magazine would come out that would have been, the article might have been written 3 months previous, and the magazine comes out and a few people look at it and it grows a bit of momentum over a year. So a variety might get a little bit of hype over a year. Now, 1 week, and you can create a demand for some Aragoki, Gimrin, Shisui no one had before. Suddenly there's hundreds of people want them.
It must be hard for you as well because you're always looking for next year, aren't you? So next year, the Gosanki could be the in fish again, and you've just done loads of them.
They're always popular, but it's just they're always the main product.
Not saying they're out. Not meaning it in that sense, but
Tanchos have been probably the most sought after fish forever, and more and more of them appear with more and more work done on them. But yeah, we still get hundreds of inquiries a year. Oh, can you get me some little 2 to 3 inch tanchos? You know, I'm looking to spend £2 a fish. But if you don't know a lot about koi, you just think, well, you can breed tanchos. Why haven't you got thousands of them? Why does a good one cost 10 grand? Because a proper one's a rare beast, and a good one's a rare beast. But you don't know that process. You just think, well, why are people not just breeding? And then you see a TikTok video of someone in Malaysia that's got a bowl full of these tanchos or whatever that are, they must have they probably just got a piece of ham like just slap on and perfect every time. So,
we've had a couple of questions dropped in. If you want to go back onto the, I mean, I hope you don't mind, guys. I mean, for me, I find the spawning side of things really interesting. It would be to be doing what you're doing, Rick. How you're doing it down there would be absolutely amazing. I mean, you must still get excited each season, every season, when it comes to spawning, coming around, going fruit fry, going fruit grading, seeing those fish come back out at end of year when you're pulling them all back in and seeing how well they've done, how well those choices and selections and picking of parent stock, what they've produced. And again, I suppose there's probably a few disappointments as well with it as well, but you must still get a buzz out of it, Rick.
It's brilliant. I mean, I don't get paid to be up for 48 hours straight. I haven't a cheat today. I fell asleep. But yeah, I said I don't get. Of course, I get paid, but not what you should get paid. It's a love of it, and I mean, bless Vince. He's a hobbyist, isn't he? He wants to be involved at any point he can because he loves it. It's not financial, is it? It is. He's close enough to us, and I think the more you see it. I mean, Tony come down the other day. God. He's like, if I live closer, I'll be here every day. And I'm like, Tony, if you're every day, you'd be back. He's so passionate and wants to see everything. Can't get rid of him. He's like, Tony, I've got. Oh, can I come? No, and but I love that passion, and I'd love to take people. And we do take people around. You've been there.
It's brilliant.
We show everyone as much as we can. Like those open days when we took people around the farm and we had a pond of fish ready. We could go through them and show people. You know, you get to keep one from every bowl, whatever. You know, that was great. But it's an absolute nightmare doing that. But that passion, that there's a certain percentage of koi keepers have that just first for how do you do this? How do you do that? Why does it look like that? Why does that do that? How does that develop? That learning, it's great. And it'd be lovely to almost have a college section to it where people could come and learn all that. And see cool. And see the joys of when it goes right, you pick these, or the downsides when all those fish you selected are actually complete chaff.
You'd think Smart Shot would do something with you, Rick.
They do. We had the EA rep in the other day. He goes, I was here with a group of 16 students 20 years ago doing a Croco spawning with you, doing a Croco grading. So we used to get the whole class in from Sparshot to come and grade our black fry for us. So this 16 to 20 at a time come in, and they were fucking useless. It was by the end of it, it was like, oh my days. But
I remember when I came up and did it, and I think you said exactly the same to me. You're fucking useless at it. It was like
very, very, very few people, and you can see why the farms in Japan have got those old ladies that are just meticulous, and there must be a crew of them going round all the farms just.
I just felt so sorry for the white ones that were just being dumped. It's
part of the thing, though, isn't it? It's how it is.
The good fish cost a lot of money because there's a lot of fish that have been, you know, to go back to the brood stock, 364 days of looking after, say, a shear at Surrey, to go spend 12 hours to spawn it, to strip the 100,000 eggs, to hatch them, and our main shearer set only yields 5 to 10% black fry. So at 4 days, we then dump 90% of all those eggs we've cared for 364 days. We're dumping 90% of that product at 4 days old.
Yeah,
you start when you suddenly you're like, whoa, like that's imagine all the expensive food and stuff that's gone into that fish to create the eggs to then
chuck 90% of them away.
It's like getting sake akari.
I just throwing 3/4 of them back in the field.
It's just like, how did that go? But
that's the reality, though, isn't it? That's
the craziness of it, yeah. And the yields of your higher end stuff, you know, you've got to look after the parents right. And going back to you saying about the carp spawning in the pond and whatever. So, like, say our lake, 100 million eggs or whatever, and 10 survive. That's survival of the fittest. Yeah. And what we do is the exact opposite. Yeah. We give every single fry the environment.
You select everything for the best quality looks, body shape, and everything else, and pick probably
that's further down the line.
The
but
10% of the weekend,
giving them everything to make sure you don't lose a single fish until you say so. So that's the whole. That's what you have to do. Otherwise,
it's kind of hard, but it's true.
You'd lose the best. You always lose the better fish if you've got a water quality problem or a health problem. The better ones are generally slightly weaker. They'll be the first ones to die.
Yeah.
So you can't have that problem. You've got to make sure every fish lives until you say it's not the right fish. It's not the right, and then you start getting the qualities and the grading and whatever. If you looked at it from the outside, it's complete stupidity. Really, the whole industry is, when someone doesn't know it, you try and explain to someone about it down the pub. What do you do? Oh, I breed fish. Oh, what's that? And then they just look at you like, what?
You do what?
What? Why are you throwing away? And oh yeah, koi are worth thousands. You must be rich. You put one koi in a million's worth thousands. 999,000 of them are worth jack shit.
How many of the adult fish broodstock do you get that are Jaffas or
Joe? To be fair, that's not true because he's done some, but you do get some. I don't know about. You tend to find a good parent fish, a good fish that spawns easy, has good egg quality and whatever, and has the qualities that you want. Once you've got it, you want to keep hold of it because you can trust it. You know you can move it. It tolerates being moved. It will spawn. The eggs are good. Yeah. We used to have a number of fish that, well, they get moved on because you get some that don't produce milk or eggs. They're neither sex. You get some that males that just don't really want to produce milk, which like Joe's might be. It just might be one of those fish that, you know, it's male, it's 100% male. It does produce milk, but it doesn't produce enough to be that viable. But obviously, if we do it and there's some really good offspring, then you just have to go through that process, and it's a bit of a pain.
so like on a male fish then, if it was not producing the milk to do it, would that make him a better fish as in growth colour because he's not concentrating on, or a female, they're not producing the eggs, they're not wasting their energy, their strength, their qualities, they're just...
No, sometimes you look at it like that, but I don't think so. It's some of our best fish still. You get really maley males, really female. It's like people, isn't it? Some people get pregnant every time they have sex. Some people can't get pregnant. More money, innit? Yeah. Broodstock are one of those. Yeah, I don't know. You could spend millions on broodstock and still have fish that don't do the goods, and you'd have other fish that will just be your mainstay year after year because they will develop eggs easy. They just do the right things, and that's so when you're selecting parents, it's not just all about quality and stuff. If I can flip males where I'm buying males, if I can flip them and get milk out of them, that's a lot better than buying them blind and finding that they don't produce milk or whatever.
Is the varieties that spawn easier?
Sometimes, but again, yeah, I think it's more individuals, to be honest. But if you read some of the old texts, like Omasako used to have one parent set. Going back 40 years, he had one parent set, and they were a nightmare to spawn. And you read, he used to sit out there for nights at a time trying to encourage his fish to spawn. And now
How do you encourage a fish to spawn?
literally by doing like what I was doing today, moving them from
moving them. Same thing.
Again, a vat or moving a female that's really laying eggs in with a vat of fish that aren't doing anything, just to try and stimulate the hormones, get everything going. There's stuff you can do. But yeah, so you imagine his farm 50 years ago, he had one parent set, and it was make or break for his livelihood off of one parent set. So if she doesn't spawn, he's going to go hungry, isn't he? And yet now you look at the farm and it's like, holy shit, that's come from one man sat out there by his pond with a candle watching his one fish, singing gently and encouraging it to that. And yeah, that whole sort of bloodline and whatever come from there. So yeah, but parents, we do have fish. Weird. I mean, our old Momotaro Sankey, the big Mako line one, that fish was a pig to spawn. It always took 2 or 3 days, and the males never ever spawn with her. She never. So when you put her in, and she'd never got up through the ropes. So the males were never interested in it, and you had to keep taking her out and checking her. And suddenly she'd ovulate. The eggs would become free running, and you'd have to take her out and strip the eggs. And even it's only once you put her back in and strip the eggs that the males started showing any interest in her. But the eggs were fine. It's just like, and naturally that fish wouldn't have offspring because she obviously smelled bad, or God knows. You know, males are normally up for anything, and yeah, so that fish used to have to be checked in the. You sort of know the window at 24 hours when she should be spawning. You then start checking her, and suddenly she's releasing eggs, even though there's no spawning activity. So you then can just literally take the eggs out, fertilize.
That was a Sankey on it.
That was a big Sankey, yeah. Random. I don't know why, and that was just one of those things, just one of the quirks. But you know, other fish. I think
you mentioned that about 3 years ago, Rick. Once before, when you were not showing all the signs of having and carrying eggs, but never triggered naturally until you got involved. And
but she
pushed all the right places.
But obviously, she never released the hormones that the males seek that encourage them to go through that process. And that's, you know, in a natural world, that line would die out, wouldn't it? That fish is also, it wouldn't be a very good producer because it would shed its eggs without being fertilized. Whereas other fish, males love, you put them in there 6 hours before they're going to spawn, they are absolutely, every male is on it like a carb on it, going, you are the one. Drink, love, get you a drink, dinner, and they're all over it. And you're like, oh my God. Hours.
Pam just stood there going, that's Rick.
You're as easy as that, the rest has been history.
You're a cheapskate, Rich.
Oh no, mate. Always want the easy ones. Sports direct.
Have you never fancied it yourself, Matt?
What's that?
I knew that was going to come out wrong. I mean, having a go at doing any form of spawning or anything like that. No.
Well, I have, but it's just like
I meant fish-wise.
Yeah, but where'd you put them? You know, I can't.
Well, I've got a couple of questions that are highlighted, guys. We are going to go back on them, but I think that's one of the problems, isn't it? Unless you're going to cull hard and get rid of everything, and then just have a small little environment to grow a few on for yourself. When you're doing it like Rick's doing it, you need a lot of space, don't you? You need a hell of a lot of space.
The only thing that I thought of doing was do a spawning, lure them on to a certain stage, and then just dumping them all in one of the lakes down at the farm, and just say, get on with it and see what happens. You know, they haven't cost me anything, so it just But no, I haven't got the time, and I get power.
We've tried that one of the lakes.
Well, so you did have a go at one of Matt's lakes before, didn't you? But I didn't know how successful.
Yeah, well, the first year was phenomenal, wasn't it, Rick?
Yeah.
And then the second year got worse, and then the third year I had herons, cormorants, and otters, and out of 3,000 fish that was put in, probably 50 came out. It was just like, and of course, you imagine like you go down to the lake and you see a cormorant on there or heron. You just go, particularly with me, super paranoid. So you're down there at early hours in the morning, late at night. You see any sign of anything, and you're down there, and it's just like, I just don't need that stress level.
And I don't suppose I dare bet now, Rick, for you, with the amount of time and the length of the time that you have been doing it, that'll just be water off a duck's back, so to speak, wouldn't it? Now, predators and all the rest of it, they are what they are. You cover it up and protect as best you can, and it'll be what it'll be. Because you can't prevent it, can you?
No, the problem is, like Matt's pond, when it was first dug out and fresh, you've got that perfect window where the first crop we did in there, well, we netted it. The first time we put the fry in, we went back in the autumn. I put the net through, and we physically couldn't load any more fish onto the wagon. We would we pulled half of the fish back because there was no way we could transport them with all the tanks and the air and the gas, and it was like, holy shit! I was 6,000, 6 to 8 inch fish or whatever. It was like mental.
Yeah.
But that pond, next year the weeds grow in, the predators are on it, and it just goes.
Yeah.
So
it's like one morning.
Yeah.
One morning I got there and there was 8 cormorants up in a tree, stuffed up, filled up with food, and it was like, what the hell? You know, and you think, like we were saying at the time, at the size of those fish, he was probably eating 10 to 12 fish each feed 3 times a day, 8 of them. You know, that's a serious amount of fish being consumed.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? That's a bit of a. I mean, I would genuinely, when watching it last year and watching you doing harvesting when Vince were going around and you were pulling fish in, and then you got them all up there and you were going and selecting through them all and looking through them. You were pulling last year, maybe the year before, and you were pulling them through and you look, well, that. I mean, look at that fish; it's absolutely stunning, beautiful fish, and a great big chunk missing out of its head where it's had predator attack, and it were another one, and then another one, and then another one. You kind of feel a bit gut wrenched for it because you know that's a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of time gone into it, and it just takes that one bastard bird to totally ruin them or eat them completely.
And you can guarantee the birds will leave all the ugly fuckers alone. You know, the one eyed.
It's always the one that you like the most, isn't it? It's always your favourite. It's always the one that gets the problem in your pond, isn't it, as well? It's never the shit one, is it? It's never the one that you've had for ages that's never done anything. It's always your best or your favourite that goes when it goes. Well,
that's why you got to work with what you got. So some of our mud ponds, obviously frying mud ponds, they can do great, they can do terrible, but we got some mud ponds that we can't fully protect. So if we put platinum ogon fry in there, the kingfishers just absolutely love it. They just annihilate them. You know, they can see them and they hammer them. But if you put shishui fry in there, they behave differently. They go down deep. You can grow. You don't need any predator control with those varieties. They just put themselves down deep, feed them on the bottom. Kingfishers leave them alone, no problem. So don't fight. Don't have to fight nature. You just say, well, that pond I can do asagi, shishui, or whatever. That's what we're doing there. Because if I do any other variety in there, I know by midsummer I'll have 15 kingfishers absolutely smashing the crap out of them. And everything with pattern or colour gives you reason they're hunting by sight. So anything that's got
so they're more vibrant, they stand out more, they're more easy for them.
Yeah. And they will literally
self-grade. Quite surprised to see how big a fish a kingfisher can take. They can take a fair decent sized fish, can't they?
Yeah, they'll take them up to sort of 3 to 4 inch. That's 7 meters.
But the kingfisher's a small bird, though, isn't it? Really, they ain't all that big.
Wow, but yeah, if you get a lot, but that's the thing. They will almost. If we put a mixed batch of fry into some of those mud ponds, so we could put 10,000 fry in, with the aim of leaving them to the autumn, because we can't. They're a nightmare to net back. The weed grow. You can't get them back out till they're big enough, strong enough. So they got to stay there. So you put them out, and you could have put 10,000 out, and if you've got those Harawakis, Ogons, Yamabukis, Platinums, anything that's a bit shiny, they will just get gone. You could harvest it and get 2,000 back, and everything that's got pattern and colours gone, and you're left with all the chaff. Survival of the fittest again. We just don't want that. It doesn't work for our industry. You cannot, if you haven't got control, then it doesn't work.
There was David Attenborough Sunday week ago, and it was all about the otter.
Did you see it?
Yeah, 1.5 kilos of fish a day.
That was mad, wasn't it? That's what made me realise just how many fish a kingfisher can eat, because that were on it as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And how big a fish that they can actually take. Most of them were, but it did come out with a fair old 3/4 length of its own body, feeding female to get her ready for nesting and all that lot. But yeah, the otter, I didn't think. I mean, I knew they took I knew they'd probably have a go at maybe a duckling, but not a fucking full grown.
Yeah, they're just
when they're getting ready for breeding themselves, they're bulking up kind of things and taking ducks out.
Basically like a water fox.
Yeah.
And you get him in a pond, and he won't just go in there and take one fish and bugger off. He go in there and clear the whole pond, dump them all around the outside. I had somebody in Weymouth actually, and she phoned up and she fought because she phoned up to say, if anybody actually phones you up, Matt, and says, we've got a load of fish for sale, they may be ours. And I said, well, what makes you say that? And he said, well, we had a whole load of fish in there and they were all over 30 centimetres. In the morning, there was not a fish left in the pond. And I said, well, it's definitely not a kingfisher. It's definitely not a heron. It's definitely not a cormorant. You got two options. They have been stolen, which is unlikely, or you got an otter. And she was, no, we haven't seen any otters around here for years. My mum and dad have lived here for years and years and years. We're a long way away from any watercourse. Nope, it won't be an otter. And I said, do me a favour and just walk around the garden, look underneath the hedges and have a look. And she was like adamant, no, it won't be an otter, it won't be an otter. And in the background, I could hear her dad go, oh my God, I found a head. Oh my God, I found a body. And he had literally gone in there, taken every fish out of the pond and dumped them all in the hedge.
Wow. See, I mean, somebody once said to me, you want to be careful, get a net on, not like a net would stop an otter anywhere, like, but you really should be covering up to protect them. And they were saying that otters will travel quite a fair distance.
15
a bit of research. They do go a long way.
Yeah, we got 3 big fishing lakes, Todber, Craig's, I'm trying to remember them, but they're all about 5 miles apart and they've all got CCTV, and they reckon that during the winter nights, the alarms will go off and the otter will be on one of the lakes at one of the farms. And then within the next 3 or 4 hours, he'll be at the other lake, but the third lake or third fishery, he won't appear. But the following night, it will be 2 of the ponds or 2 of the fisheries and not the third one. And then the next night, and it's almost like he's rotating
through his hunting grounds.
But yeah, they reckon with the otter, it's 15 miles they travel in a night to go and get food.
Yeah, which you wouldn't have thought, would you? You don't look at an otter and think that they're big enough to be able to travel that length of distance, but I imagine they'd be able to go a fair good distance just by following watercourses and stuff and doing them little cuts across.
It's not even a watercourse. We haven't got any water around here at all, apart from in the village.
So they're comfortable and happy enough to travel over land as well, then.
Yeah.
Buggers for it. You ever see Andy's? So by us here, guy that does all the pond builds, he was away and he sent us a video, and he lives in Christchurch, and he's got the otter coming up his drive into the garage and smashing all his tanks of fish. And it's like, and it's okay, we're close. We know there's otters on the river here, whatever. Literally 50 meters from me, I can go and see the otters. But he's in town and probably quarter of a mile from the river, and it's busy. It's roads, it's town, yeah. And he's got a video of it coming straight up the road, up his driveway into the garage and into the tanks, hopping from tank to tank, just pulling them out. And you're like,
mad, isn't it? You wouldn't expect it.
When we got done at work, it's outside Sean's bedroom window, and there's a fence around the pond. We're like, I won't go for that. And it was a plastic fence, and it just basically tubed a hole straight through the fence and lined up. I think it was 14 fish were on the decking. So he was out in the hot tub till midnight, and I come in at dawn about 5:30, 6, and there was 14 fish lined up on the decking with just the kidneys missing, literally as if someone had put them there and done a biopsy on them. And it was like, holy shit, that's just, yeah, the money's worth that was destroyed in 6 hours is staggering.
I love your face then, Gaz, when you saw it.
You little bastards, man. Yeah. I'll show you this, and then we'll touch on a few of the topics questions that were being asked, because we've got 4 starred up here. That's bold as brass, isn't it?
Was this Andy's one?
Yeah. So it was all wired up, and he ripped as you can see, he's ripped the top off one of them.
The cover off.
and you can actually see the fish swimming around in there trying to get away from him.
Yeah, you've got to walk up a main road and up a driveway to get into there. It's straight in. Shouldn't laugh.
They're not big though, are they? They're not big, are they? In the sense of, you know, that's got to travel some distance with those little legs, isn't it?
Yeah, the male one is as big as a badger. They're big old animals.
Are they really?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember seeing one running down.
10 kilos? More than that.
Yeah. Bigger than what I expected. Right, we got asked a question earlier on. Sorry, Mick, but I did star it to go back to it. Evening, guys. Quick question. What's the best way to move koi on? As a hobbyist, I enjoy growing koi on, and it's not possible to keep them all. This is yeah.
So there's dedicated sites for in there. So on Telegram, you've got Koi Pond Classified, is it, for selling fish? You got Facebook Marketplace, Gumtree.
You can't do it. You can't do it on Facebook.
Can't do it on Facebook. Can't do it on eBay anymore.
The best place I tell everybody to put them is on Gumtree, and they go pretty quick on there.
Yeah, it's one of those. We have a lot of people obviously buying small stuff fry, and then obviously got fish to move on. But yeah, I think it's asking, if you're trying to get rid of stock, you just got to remember that you're not going to get much money for them. If you're getting rid of stuff you don't want, then
there's a reason why you don't want it.
Yeah, you just got to be sensible of. Yeah, you need to move it onto a good home, so it's get what you can for them or whatever. But yeah, that Koi Pond's Classified on Telegram. There's some good fish going there, and some sensible money, really sensible money for what a lot of people put stuff on there.
It is doable, isn't it? But again, you've got to make sure that you're doing all right things and all to move them on as well as.
Yeah, if you're going to buy them, just again, it's the same thing. If you're going to buy a dog, you want to go and see where it's from, the parents, and all the rest of it, and get all the information. And yeah, the puppy farms and stuff still exist because people will just go and buy a puppy from wherever.
Yeah,
the consumer that can control these things, isn't it? So if you go to someone's house and the fish are minging, you say, "Well, I ain't buying them, and you shouldn't be selling them in that state." But in reality, most people care for their animals, care for their livestock, and they're just trying to find a good home to move.
It's like you said, you've just got to be more realistic with what you're trying to achieve and get from them when you come into moving them on. If you've grown them on and you've selected all the best of them, and then you thought, right, well, I've had my fun out of them, and you're selling them on because the good quality, then obviously you're not going to have as much of a difficult time in getting rid of them.
Yeah. There is a lot of places. I mean, there's a huge amount of golf courses, farmers, people, landowners that have got natural ponds that just want some life in there, and they get hit by cormorants and herons and stuff. So there's a natural turnover. So they're always after cheap fish to put in there to watch for a summer, or
even just to take to re-up in a sense.
We've got 2 customers that come and buy any fish that are not so clever in terms of shapes and fins, because they like putting them in and filming the otters to come and eat them. I don't know where I stand on that, but it's
better eating them than eating best ones, isn't it?
Yeah, but
they're eating them there, they're not eating them at yours. So
they got these natural ponds that they've got wildlife cameras on, and the otters visit, and they love and it's like, so the fish go in there, they're having a good life, and then they get. It's natural. I don't.
And then not so much.
It's a difficult one, isn't it?
Well, as long as you're not charging them, Rich.
Oh yeah, double money. Safety.
Right. What about this one then? Because it goes back again to the fry. Hi guys, can you help me with my koi? I'm a beginner and it's kind of hard to keep the fry. Can you help? In what sense, mate? Do you mean it's hard? Are you struggling to keep them alive, or are you struggling again for the same reasons to cull them off, select them out, pick them off, need a little bit. I mean, yes, we could help if we know what you're wanting to achieve.
Why doesn't he come on and tell us? Then we can ask questions directly. It's easier then.
It would
Yeah.
be. Harry Gorky did put one in as well. Gaz, I've got hundreds of little snails in my filter. I quite love them, and they come out of the overflow. Snails in your filter, good or bad? Thoughts? Question.
Depends if you've got a drum filter. If you've got a drum filter, they're fucking horrendous because they get between the floats, so the float won't come back up, and the drum just carries on doing a rotation and washing off. Like so many people that have that issue where the drums just keep washing and washing and washing, and the floats
Breathe fast as well, don't they?
Yeah, to be honest, I like them. We got filters full of them because they just eat. They literally eat the shit, don't they?
Yeah, eat the
They
detergents.
go through and second feed on all the stuff so it breaks its natural break. Same as Gamrus, but they are a pain on the spray bars. If you've got the wrong size hole on a spray bar, they go through the pump and they block the
You
shit
get
out.
stuck in it.
Yeah. But to be fair, I mean, we've got one where we do the grow and show fish. They do food trials. They're full of the snails, and obviously they're whatever species they are. They only grow to 8 mil. They're tiny, and they go through. So all the holes in the spray bars are bigger than them. So they go through the pumps, through the spray bars, and the top layer of the showers is almost like a pH buffer. It is just snail. It's all the snail shells that are slowly all the calcium in them, and it's part of the filter, mate. I've got no. As long as you set it up that they don't cause a problem, like you say, in a drum or blocking holes or whatever, because any that end up in the pond get eaten. So it's only in those filter chambers that you get them, and they are doing a great natural job.
So and like you said, natural food source. If you just want to scoop them all out and wang them all back in, because there'll be plenty of eggs out and smaller ones that you can't see that are still going to grow up and end up replacing them and replenishing them again.
So true or false on snails then, Rich, especially say like the mussel. Are they a bad thing to buy from somebody and introduce to your pond for harbouring parasites? It's like a little lifestyle, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's the problem is in a textbook, the life cycle of certain flukes go from fish to snail to bird or whatever. But the flukes we get on our fish that are generally a problem aren't in that life cycle. They're flukes that live on fish only and go fish to fish. And so, yeah, I think it's that eye fluke and liver fluke are two that can go. Basically, how it works is obviously the snail's the carrier. The fish eat the snail, the heron eats the heron shits back to another new pond. The snails eat the shit, get the fluke. Fish eat the snails, you get the eye fluke. They go blind, the heron eats the fish. That's how that life cycle goes around. So you read that in a book, but that's not generally the problem that koi keepers in this country have. So, but buying anything you buy to put in your pond can be a potential issue, can't it? You could buy weed from a garden centre to stick in your veggie chamber or whatever if you're absolutely immaculate koi pond that you've biosecured and that you've done everything by the book, and then you buy an aquatic plant, stick it in your bog filter and find that there's goldfish eggs or minnow eggs or something on there that you've then transferred a fish species and fish parasites into that environment accidentally. You've just got to be super aware.
So if I buy some weed from you, am I going to get some gazwads?
No, because we don't sell weed anymore. Years ago, we used to do golden minnows. They're banned. I think they're a banned species now. Banned because, like everything else, is banned. But they used to be in our ponds eating the midge larvae. So all the lilies, all the oxygenating weeds and all that. And they always just lay eggs continually on everything. So every customer that used to come and buy our stuff inherently go, I got these weird little yellow fish appeared in my pond. And it's like, oh shit, it's the golden minnows. And they just literally got everywhere. Which is why they become a band, because they didn't really cause any problems, but they get everywhere. And obviously it's difficult to control them, isn't it? Once they do that. So yeah. I'd say if you want snails, buy them, but you fish will eat them. It's a waste of money. If something naturally is going to occur in your filter, it kind of normally sort of does.
Yeah, they'll get there.
But yeah, Gamrus is something. If you could get a clean source to put in your filtration, they're great because everywhere they are, the biofilters are so clean. It's like someone's gone in there and cleaned them out every day for you. Is
that the little shrimp type looking things? Yeah.
But they're so susceptible to where they live. But when they do colonize and go boom, the fish love them. Obviously, that's one of the most natural diets for the fish. But yeah, they're just detritus eaters. They just literally eat everything that's almost a waste product and break it down to the last bits. So yeah, your filters are mega clean with them in there. But yeah, anytime you've got salt or treatments, they're really sensitive to stuff. So
yeah,
if they're
so
there,
you
probably got really
you
good.
can eradicate them really quick on either of them if you're not, even if you weren't wanting to.
Unfortunately. And frogs.
What about this one then? Tony Farmer Koi question: can frogs and toads be a problem for koi ponds? Asking for a friend.
In my case, yes.
Yeah.
I had a toad that got into the pond or into the filter and then got sucked into the pump. In the morning, I had every single fish in the pond was either dead or paralysed.
Was that with toads?
Yeah.
Well, no, frogs can be a problem if they're not, in a sense, if there's not enough females to male ratio, because they will wrap round fish, won't they? And they can end up on a smaller fish, obviously. A big koi won't be much of an issue. Probably not still so nice for the koi itself, but a smaller fish, they can wrap round them and they end up latching round them, don't they, and preventing them from. You can see, like, sometimes I've seen in my dad's years gone by when he used to have a couple of frogs in his front pond, and a couple of his fancy goldfish. I say fancy, just longer, flowing tails and fins. But they'd end up with like 2 or 3 frogs wrapped around underneath them and sticking around their heads. And he ended up with one of them where frogs were still held on and fish were dead.
Yeah.
Toads are poisonous. They carry bufotoxin, which protects them. And then down at the lake, every year you'd see obviously the frogs and the toads spawning. And then you go down there one morning, around the outside of the pond would be hundreds, and I mean hundreds, of dead toads that have been crushed. And it's basically the otters going in there, capturing the toads, realising it's a toad, killing it and dumping it because they're poisonous.
Daft. Even the tadpoles are poisonous. That's why when you go to some lakes, you get billions of toad tadpoles and nothing will eat them. And then as soon as the frog tadpoles are anywhere, everything goes mad for them and just scoffs them all. But yeah, it's not something you really want. If you've got a natural pond, then great. It's whatever comes and goes naturally, isn't it? That's the whole point of it. But yeah, stuff like a big goldfish might well end up with a frog on its head in the spring. If it's just
If it's lucky.
I don't know. How do you make sure there's enough girls to go around, whatever? But they do it to each other, don't they? When the frogs are going mad, you get a female that's killed by 4 males latched onto it.
Yeah, latched onto it, yeah.
Nature's a harsh beast, isn't it?
It certainly is. So you can let your friend know, Tony. Get rid of him.
I mean, there's less and less about them. Certainly around here, dogs used to be, when I was a kid, they used to be everywhere. They've kind of died off. Like
when
If
I
the
was
office,
around here, there was from where I live now, on the estate across the road, there used to be a big natural lake in there, and every spring you'd see old frogs just coming out of fields and out of people's gardens and walking across, and they'd all be making their way to this
Washed
lake.
on
And
the
it'd be
road.
absolutely ramped. Yeah, there'd be loads of them splattered all over.
Yeah.
And then they built a new housing estate there, and they reduced the size of the lake, but they kept the original lake there. But obviously, with all the new buildings and everything that they put around, they took all that natural water from it all, and eventually, after like 2 years, it dried up and just turned into like a ornamental piece of stone that was just in the middle of it. But the frogs came back for like a year or two, and they were all down drain system and everything. They were all in drains and all over the place, and then they've just gone. Yeah.
but how heavy would a fog weigh? 1/10 of a kilo?
What, like 100? No, pretty 50 grams. 100
Yeah.
grams.
So you think how many blinking fogs an otter's going to eat in one day?
Yeah, but it's not round here. It's not. They haven't disappeared because the otters. It's just the environment's changed, isn't it? Hedgehogs
I
are
don't
gone.
know.
Frogs are gone.
Cover everything in concrete, don't they?
I've lived in Dorchester all my life, and nobody's ever seen an otter, and now everybody is pinpointing all the way around Dorchester different otters showing up.
Yeah,
So you
well,
might as well.
there is. There's quite a few about, but not only do they eat everything, do they otters? They're pretty
Yeah,
I don't think you can blame lack of frogs on when they're some amphibious red-footed toad disease or something. There's a
I
lot.
was proper surprised on the Attenborough one when it were hunting full-grown ducks, man. I mean, I've seen pike take little ducklings, but I never thought for a minute that you'd get an otter coming along to take a full-grown adult duck.
Anyway, here's a question from David Attenborough. And guys, you can answer this one as well. Why do chickens, ducks, or birds all of their eggs hatch on the same day?
Why do they?
Yeah.
Well, they lay what's called a clutch, but they don't start sitting those eggs until they get all of the clutch laid. And then the bird's body raises up to 28 degrees. And when it gets to 28 degrees, it can start the incubation period. And every day, the female bird will turn and roll those eggs to stop the embryo from settling on the inside of the shell. That's why.
So on the David Attenborough one that we're talking about, when he was talking about I think it was 9 ducklings.
Yeah.
They all hatched on the same day because they all started talking to each other.
They communicated with each other.
But that isn't the reason why they hatch all together on the same day.
No.
They hatch at the same time.
Yeah. It was literally what Gaz said. It's because she sat on the last egg and then they all start to grow.
Yeah, she only sits on them to lay each day. That's why when you've got hens and you take away each egg, she'll lay 16 eggs for a clutch, and then you take those eggs away every day so you can have them with your soldiers and your bacon, sausage and egg and all sandwiches and everything. But when you put that egg back, those if you take them away and turn them every day until you get the whole 15 clutch, put them in an incubator, they don't hatch until they all get to the temperature. And once they get to that temperature, boom, and you go.
They don't develop, do they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But they've got to keep rotating them. That's why you see a mother hen or a mother bird or a duck get in, and they always look like they're knocking and, it looks like they're adjusting the eggs. They're actually rolling and turning the eggs to stop them from sticking, an embryo from sticking on the inside. They're pretty clever, man, aren't they, really, when you think about it? But then they'll do like 2 weeks where they go brooder and they won't actually hatch or lay any more eggs. They'll go off for a week or two and then start feeding up and start laying again.
That's what you want to go into, Gaz. Chicken farming, then.
I've had them and kept them, mate, when we were a kid. When I were a younger adult, because my kids wouldn't eat eggs. They wouldn't touch them, nor would my sister's kids. So my dad said, "We'll start making them a bit more interesting." So we got different ends and bred them and crossed them so that we got blue, green, brown, plum, and standard white egg. And then when they saw all the like top boys, who were army eggs, so soldiers' eggs. So they that were it. Just got them eating them. But yeah, messed about. They won't touch them before. They won't have them. Apparently,
Topic again. There you go.
Apparently, 3K Bosch.
What's a 3K Bosch?
Looks like Gaz has hit the 3K mark.
Ooh.
No, 2,999.
Wow. Someone's just dropped out. Shall I go back on?
Quit, as it's your show.
Is it?
Can we do something to call appreciation?
It was already. We could do it if you got something you want to appreciate.
Well, no, not tonight. I haven't. But everybody at this time of year is normally bowling out their fish, doing scrapes, etc. Anyway, so we could start.
I announced it last week as a. Somebody asked if we could start doing it again, and somebody also asked if we could start doing identifying unknown fish. Varieties that people aren't so sure of. Because I've got one. I would love for it to say, what the hell is that? Because I'm not sure
what it is then.
But yeah, so I did post it in the Facebook group this week, and I did put on it for everybody who wants to share the pictures of the videos of their goshke. Then feel free to do so. But I also did say if people think it's a little bit too early, then fine. I will stick it in, week out, and we'll do any variety or whatever you want for next week. If anybody wants to send in any pictures of the fish, and we'll go through them and have a look at them and get that back up and rolling. But I also want to start doing a little bit of pond appreciation as well. So if you want to showcase your pond, feel free to add that video in as well. Same thing. And we can have a look at your ponds as well.
What would be nice is seeing some of the fish that are going to go to the show. Because I guess everybody's getting them out. So we could appreciate
your fish.
Yeah.
So
we can assassinate them before they go to the show.
Well, I even got up. There isn't even a new little bit now, I know, where you can stick in a little poll now, where it says, let me see. There's a new little widget, and we can make a new poll, so we can put up even at the end of it, like, what was everybody's favourite fish out of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H? We can even do a little, so you guys can have a little bit of input and actually put in your own little idea of what you think, best fish of the night type of thing.
Okay.
So we can add that to it.
What's that on Facebook?
No. Look. What's this?
What is it?
So we can start. There we go. Best fish of the night. Boom. Straight up there. Instant poll. Everybody can see which they think. And then you can answer with your comments. I don't know if you can actually answer
how do they actually answer that on YouTube or?
Well, it's part of this now through StreamYard. So I'm guessing type 1 or 2 in the chat. So all you need to do is type in there, chat comments being like 1, 2, stick in your number, whatever you preferred, whichever you wanted, and away we go. We'll be able to just get your input on what you think and which fish you liked as well. And Vince has just sent me a thing saying 3K subscribers. Yeah. There you go.
Oh, who's done that?
It comes up.
Just one person.
Yeah. So when you put it in, it does actually show and register your vote for you to see. Sweet. I didn't know you'd do that. I thought you just have to. Thank you very much for the test.
There you go.
Anybody else be able to do it? Where are you saying you do? Where are you doing this in YouTube though?
No, I'm just doing that now straight through StreamYard. It's a new little widget I got.
Yeah. But how does everybody else isn't on StreamYard? We are.
Yeah, well, as soon as they post their comment, it comes to me, comes to their link straight onto it, and I'm hoping that'll show visible.
No, because you've got loads. Yeah,
it does. So if people start putting them in and putting in their comments of what they think, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, yeah, it goes up. Sweet. There we go. What's the treat? 6, 7.
Yeah, we can have some fun with that, mate.
Yeah. So we've got a couple of other little things we can do with that too, by putting in whatever you think. Right then, ladies and gents.
We could do it through the course of a night then. Who's drunkest at this time? Oh, it's John.
And just so we
I'm on my way back to work.
Oh, yeah, you're going back in?
Yeah. That's why I'm eating dinner and drinking.
There we go. That works. Nice.
Yeah. I'm going back to finish the job. 14 out of 14. Come on, do a clean sweep.
And just so you can see there, Vince, 2,999.
Yeah, but it's not including yourself. 3,000.
Not including myself. Yeah, unsubscribe from my own channel. But yeah, thank you very much for all the new subscribers as well who've joined in and followed us over the last couple of weeks. It's been great to see those numbers go up by about 40 odd, which has been sweet.
There you go.
Oh, we did get one question from Seska. Sorry, I missed yours, but it is there, and I'm going to go back to it because it was quite funny.
You'd have got in trouble.
Yeah, I know, and I get told off as well. It was, if you could be a koi, what koi would you be? And I'll put that to you first, Matt. I'm sure that's what it said. Something like that. If you could be a koi, what koi would you be? There you go. Question for the panel. If you were a koi, what koi would you be?
Are you asking like variety or just an individual fish that's got a good home?
I'm guessing, which you mean, Seska, variety or in somebody's pond in a certain situation, living somewhere or what?
I'm going to
I say variety.
If it's variety, I'll be a single colour fish, so I don't stand out amongst the crowd.
I was going to go as a chagoi because I'm always eating, but I don't know. A flamboyant chagoi. What's that?
Variety. Yeah, definitely variety. You'd be a flamboyant chagoi.
I'm a chagoi, mate. I can't stop
Isn't that
eating.
like plain boring and simple?
Yeah. Eating and drinking. That's all chagoi do.
That's what chagoi do. And what did you say, Matt?
Just a single colour fish, so I don't stand out amongst the crowd.
Oh, look, he's a chagoi as well. We're both chagoi.
No, I'll be Yamabuki. You imagine... You imagine being a kahaka or something like that, and you're fucking ugly, you know. You got Benny on the nose, all over the
secondary Benny everywhere.
It's just like, oh no. And then you got underlining coming up on your cheek. Yeah, I'd stand out that way.
You up.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
You out on you.
Yeah, single colour.
Well, I can't have Yamabuki now because Matt just picked it. So I'll go for Benny Kikikuru.
Multi-layered, dark, small, multi-layered, dark one.
It's wrapped in layers. There we go then, gents. That's it, ladies and gents, this evening. I'm going to get myself some late tea because I'm starving. But I'd like to say a massive thanks for everybody. Rick's going to be getting himself back out there to the old spot. No, thanks, mate. They look like they actually look like burnt twiglets.
Wait, look.
This is a noise. Do that again.
Fucking rock hard, man. There's cooked with love, though, Rick.
Mate,
that's what they were.
To be
love.
Wake up. She woke me up and said, "Are you not supposed to be on TV?" And I was like,
on TV. Not quite. But yeah, thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us this evening. Usual thing, guys, if you've been enjoying this kind of content and Rick's tea, do us a huge favour. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend. And until next week, guys, keep smiling and we'll catch you on the next one.
No.
Good night, all.
Do it.
Back to This has been one hell of an experience. Very nice. Have a look at that.
change in the garden. I made a little seated area. Into the little bush so you can sit inside and view the family.